Okay. Good morning. In accordance with sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment of the City of Toronto was called to order. My name is Larry Clay and I'll be chairing today's session. Panel members today are Katie Plazer, Dylan Reed, and Gary McKay. Our Deputy Secretary Treasurer today is Sabrina Salatino. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 of the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submission in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. For those participating virtually, when your item is called, you'll be unmuted by the moderator. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the Privilege of Government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal committee decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies are permitted to appeal the decisions of the committee. Today, I'll call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is contested, the agent or applicant will proceed with their presentation. When an application is uncontested, the committee may not require a presentation. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept new materials at the hearing. The applicant or agent will proceed first and make a presentation. Then individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. And generally, we call first on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee. I'll comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When all speakers are finished, the applicant has an opportunity to rebut those issues that were raised by the speakers, and this will mark the end of the discussion. The application will be taken in by the committee for a decision. Madam Secretary, Deputy Secretary Treasurer, any minutes to be confirmed today?
Good morning, Mr. Chair and panel members. Yes, the minutes from the May 6th and May 13th hearings are ready for adoption.
Okay, I will move adoption of both those minutes. I have a seconder. Mr. McKay, all in favor? Those minutes are adopted. Any files to be closed today?
Through you, Mr. Chair, see none.
Any declarations of interest, staff or panel members? See none. And any deferral requests for this morning?
Through you, Mr. Chair, see none.
All right, then we will proceed with item number 1 on the agenda. This is 270 Clinton Street. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a complete 3rd story, a rear 3-story addition with a basement addition below, a covered front porch with stairs, a rear 3rd story deck above the 2nd floor, a rear ground floor deck with stairs, and a rear basement walkout. Also to construct a new 1-story detached ancillary building, which will serve as a garage and storage area, and a driveway in the rear yard abutting the laneway. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and 3 photographs of the subject property, and that is it. Do we have our agent?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers for this application.
Hey, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair.
Name and address, please, sir.
My name is Zilan Mai, and I'm the agent and the designer of this project, and my address is 803A Yonge Street.
Great, sir. We don't have anyone in opposition, but it is a fairly complicated application. Could you just take a couple minutes and just give us a brief overview, please?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time today. I'm very pleased to speak on behalf of the owner, 270 Clinton Street. If I may, I would like to highlight 3 key items from our zoning notice. Number 1 is floor space index. We are respectfully requesting an FSI of 0.99. This is to improve the internal layout because we are keeping the main building structure. The footprint remains very, very modest. And the second one would be the front canopy. We propose a small architectural canopy for weather protection over the front door. It sits 0.397 meters from the south side line, matching the traditional open porch style of this historic neighborhood. Actually, it matched for the main building. And the number 3 would be the rear ancillary building. We propose variance for the coverage is purely to build a standard 2-car parking garage. Having a rear garage facing the land is very common and traditional in this immediate neighborhood. And it will not hurt anyone's privacy. And also, we look close at the history of this area to ensure our request is reasonable. So we found 3 recent decisions where this committee kindly approved the very similar elements. Number 1 is 273 Gray Street, final number A001423 TEY. Approved FSI is 1.01. And the number 2 is 444 Roston Road, final number is A022723 TEY. Approved FSI is 0.94. And the number 3 is 684 Manning Avenue. Final number is A031525 TEY. Approved a closer side yard setback of 0.17 meter. So our proposal follows these same balance guidelines, and we respectfully ask your kind approval today. Thank you so much. And Mr. Chair and the committee members, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much, sir. Panel, any questions? Guys, can someone put Gary on my screen? I can't see him on my little, I don't know how. He's up there, he's not on my screen. I'm gonna miss him.
Well, thanks, Chair. I had a brief question. Had a brief question to put to the applicant. It's just about the ancillary building. I wanted to ask a bit more about that. The coverage of the ancillary building jumps up from about 5% to over 21. So it's a 2-car garage plus a storage. So I wonder if you'd just tell us a little more about that ancillary building and perhaps why it's had to take that fairly large increase in coverage. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Can we look back for the garage floor plan? Actually, the garage is only 1 floor and very similar with the neighbor's one. But as a designer, I actually don't know why the original 5%, because from the looking from the neighborhood, the whole neighborhood is holding the 2 cars parking garage. And this garage is only 1 meter, a little bit higher, longer than the 2-car garage, because for the topo that there's a different levels for the front and the back from the landway. From the landway to the interior landscape. So we need a couple steps to adjust these different levels. So it creates a little small space for the storage and the stairs. And that's it for the whole function of the garage.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, we'll take this into committee. Gary, did that explanation satisfy your interest? He is on mute. Gary, you're on mute. We can't hear you there. There you go.
Oh, I'm muted.
Still on mute there, sir. We can't
No,
hear
I don't
you.
think so.
There you go. Okay. Can you just repeat what you said?
Yes. Yeah, it was helpful. Just wanted to understand the sort of the extent of the storage space in this garage. So I'm satisfied with that response from the applicant. All right, I'm prepared to go forward and move that this application on Clinton Street be approved. I see no urban forestry condition.
You okay with the soft landscaping, Gary?
I am. I noticed the variance there. Yes, it's so, but yep.
Okay.
I think given the area, yes.
All right. Motion by Mr. McKay to approve. Do I have a seconder? Ms. Plazer, all in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you very much. All right. We move on to, Sabrina, we'll do 2 and 3 together. All right. Item number 2 and 3 are related. I'll very quickly, I think, read the both into the record. 451 Rogers is to construct a new 4-story semi-detached mixed-use building with a mezzanine level above the ground floor and cantilevered portions of the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th stories at the front and west sides of the building with a covered front entrance, a rooftop staircase access enclosure for maintenance, new balconies on the 2nd and 3rd and 4th stories with a rear exterior access staircase and a rear basement walkout. Long-term bicycle parking spaces will be provided within the dwelling units. There'll be a total of 4 residential dwelling units and 1 commercial unit within this building. The committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, a covering letter from the agent, and email correspondence from the agent. We have a staff report from Urban Forestry. Item number 3, 449 Rogers is, I believe, an identical building, so I'm not going to read it into the record. Just go ditto. The only difference is the committee has before a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of the subject property, and a covering letter from the agent. There similarly is a staff report from Urban Forestry, and there's correspondence in opposition from 447 Rogers Road.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and 1 registered speaker in opposition.
Great. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Igor Kok, speaking from MXL Engineering, 1649 St. Clair Avenue West.
Sir, I've combined item number 2 and 3, the 2 properties. Is that okay with you to deal with them together?
Definitely, yes.
Okay. All right, sir. You have then 5 minutes. We have someone who wants to speak to this item. We'll need a presentation.
Okay. So, as you mentioned, we're proposing a 4-story mixed-use building with ground floor commercial.
Sir, I'm just going to interrupt you. If you could just get a little closer to the microphone, you're having just a little difficulty hearing you.
Is it better now?
That is better. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Here we go. So we do have 10 variances, although some of those are related. So we'll start with variance 1 and 2 they're requesting, and that relates to the floor space index. This zoning designation allows for 2 times the lot area. We have a minor increase. So variance number 1 relates to the total square footage of the building, which is 2.49 for both buildings. And variance number 2 relates to the residential allowance, which is 2.28. Again, just 14% of the total allowed square footage. We do have variances related to the bicycle parking, and those are variances number 3 and 5. The zoning bylaw does not allow for bicycle parking to be located within the dwelling unit, but we have a lot configuration that is a bit challenging to work with and provide the bicycle parkings on the ground floor, because just the lot width is so narrow that we need to have a passage on the side to come to the rear unit, and also enough space at the front for commercial space. So we do propose this bicycle parking spaces to be located within the dwelling units, and that So that becomes a variance, and numbers are 3 and 5. Number 5 states that the bicycle parking should be located within below grade use for vehicle parking spaces. But we don't have that in this building. This was meant to be for bigger apartment buildings, and we do not have that space for at our disposal. Variance number 4 relates to visitor parking. So pretty much all the lots in this area do not provide any visitor parking for cars. Again, given the lot configuration, we don't have a curb cut. We don't have space to fit vehicles in this lot. So if you go through Rogers Road, you see that this is a very typical feature for this area, or you have just a few exceptions for grocery shops and a couple bakeries or maintenance shops. But mixed-use buildings per se, they do not have space for parking. On variances 6 and 7, so here we're talking, just a quick second here, inside the mixed vehicle, inside area. So these variance 6 and 7 are related because we cannot place a dwelling unit within the ground floor and in the basement. If you see the design that we came up with, we do have our commercial unit at the front. However, it's not as deep as zoning requires. Zoning requires 15 meters. We're proposing around 10 meters because, again, the units in this area, you have the hair salons, we have, like the small restaurants here and there. So we think that's enough space to fit a retail unit, which is what we're going for here. And at the rear, we're proposing something different than you see in other applications. So many times you see a basement unit and a ground floor unit. In this proposal, we're integrating the basement and the main floor to have as a one unit to come up with a better design for the person renting the space in the future, and even with a mezzanine. Given the requirement to have a very considerable ceiling height on the ground floor, that allows us to have a mezzanine, a loft on the rear. So it works almost sort of like a 3-story unit within a very confined space, and which I think is a great design because, again, you're trying to come up with some sort of rental unit that fits the purpose and is not just another shoebox in the city, right? We have variance number 8, which is challenging that we can get rid of, but we can't. We have pretty much no openings on the side, for the exception of one egress door, which is the door that you're looking at this point. So the zoning does not allow any opening within the side facade unless you have a setback of 5.5 meters, which is actually wider than the lot itself. So for the exception of this door, we have no openings, and you can refer to the facade drawings. And just to wrap up very quickly, we do have a variance for the walkout stairs. And the reason is we have a 0.3 meter setback required, but these lots are semi-detached, so we're just extending the wall all the way to the back for construction purposes. Otherwise, you need to come up with shoring and more expensive approaches. So we're just continuing the same wall along the rear. So these egress stairs from the basement, they can share the foundation structure. And also, if I may just wrap up in 30 seconds, variance number 10 relates to the tunnel light. So if you see there is a bump within the building, and the reason for having that is to come up with a tunnel light. You might be aware that for code purposes, we need windows, right? Provide glazing for units. Zoning requires 11 meters between those two walls. But given, again, the width of the lot and the configuration, if you space that tunnel, the front and rear walls 11 meters, that would jeopardize the entire apartment structure. So what we did is provide around 6 feet, 1.83 meters between those windows, so we can have decent glazing and still not compromising the overall GFA of the building. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. And we have someone to speak, so if we can hold our questions till later. Is there someone in the room who wants to speak to this item? No? Online?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Name and address, please, ma'am.
Linetta Aversa. I'm at 447 Rogers Road. I've given a written submission of all my disputes? Do I have to read them over point by point, or how does this work?
We've read that. It's up to you. If you wanted to highlight a couple of the more serious concerns you have that are contained in your letter, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm very concerned, like I said, with the water flow from the property, because currently everything kind of comes down onto my side. It is elevated. I'm concerned about the windows and the doors. Like I said, the noise level will be crazy. You also have to factor in air conditioners. I'm not sure how these units are going to run. But right now in the back of the yard, like I have some privacy. I have quiet. I have sun till 6 p.m. This will be blocking everything. So by this afternoon, when the sun starts to move past this structure, there's no more sunshine for me or more natural light to my premises. I'm also definitely concerned with this mutual walkway because it's been an issue for years. I'm not sure how this construction works. Is it being torn up? Is a new mutual walkway being put down for both sides? Is the existing one to stay and they build from the property line over? There's a lot of issues, like I said, in my letter that I'm concerned about. I also have the parking issue. Currently, my daughter takes about 20 minutes just to find parking in this area. So we're looking at least 10 possible units that need parking, and many people have 2 vehicles per household. We've taken away all the half the parking on Rogers Road currently due to the bike lane situation. So it's a nightmare, even with a permit. It's impossible sometimes to find parking. So that is a big consideration for me. I'm also concerned with the noise current construction and after construction, because current construction, I work from home. My son sleeps. He works in the evenings. Another issue is the fact with all the windows and doors. Again, this will be 10 different people plus whoever's visiting the storefront properties as well. So the noise and the traffic will be a lot higher. There's also a gate at the front here that keeps people out. This area is not the safest area. Over the years, it's really gotten worse. I mean, we have a bar a block away and you do have drunks that kind of stagger in between the houses. There's no indication of what's going to be done with the mutual walkway, how the water is going to flow off this building, if there's going to be a gate put at the front there, any kind of privacy. So these issues I'd really like to have addressed, but especially with the parking is an upset because, like I said, it affects my family because it's impossible to find parking as is right now. There was a reference to the structure on Chambers Avenue being very similar, but the property on Chambers, they basically own the existing building. They own the 2 lots beside, and they're many feet away from their first neighbor. They're not impacted by you know, how lighting comes in or out because they face east. And I think they're providing for 3 parking spaces, which in this case, we have no parking spaces allowable. So I guess that's basically everything. You've read everything else that I've had to say. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, ma'am. Thank you very much. Panel, any questions of the speaker? No. All right, if we can get the agent back.
Yes. All right, let me see if I can answer a few of these questions. Regarding windows and doors and privacy, as I was commenting on variance number 8, we only have 1 door to give access to the ground floor unit. Other than that, we have 0 windows or doors facing the neighbor. So we thought about that in our design. We don't want to, again, compromise any privacy or so. So we try our best to have 0, but again, because of egress and code requirements, we need at least 1 door, which I think is fair to ask. In terms of the right of way, giving access to both properties is an existing right of way, and I agree with the neighbor. I think it would be fair to come up with an agreement and put a gate there for security reasons, but I don't know if this matter is to be discussed at this point here in committee. Regarding AC units, they do not fit on the side anyway, so our plan is by the time we come up with our mechanical designs to place them at the roof. That's typically done for this kind of units. And in terms of water issues, once you get this approved, we'll have an opportunity to do a new grading design, which actually be required during the building permit stage. So we can certainly look into the elevations and aim to tackle stormwater management issues at that point, especially because the city wouldn't allow us to regrade in a way that it would discharge the water into the neighbors. It's a city requirement on the engineering side of things. So that will have to be tackled eventually anyways. And it's, again, this is good that we're highlighting these topics. In terms of parking, and just to reiterate, we do not have 10 units, right? We have 8 residential units, 4 in each lot. So just to correct the number there. In terms of parking, I do understand the concern, and is a concern throughout the entire city. The only thing that, again, within this particular lot, there's no space to provide any sort of parking, as already stated. There's not even a laneway at the rear. If you have a laneway at the rear, we'll be super open to provide parking at the rear, right? For aiming to keep a balance between parking and soft landscaping, again, to not trigger another variance. But again, given the configuration of this lot, we don't have space. Our intent, again, given the bicycle parkings and the location of, we just, again, PPC is at our door here. So our intent is to rely on public transportation and bicycle for this development. And then in terms of noise, again, well, noise during construction, it is. We're a city that, we have construction at every single corner. I believe contractors taking over, they will respect the hours that they need to work. And after the construction, again, given the fact that we'll have many windows facing that side, actually 0 windows, and these units, they require soundproofing regardless. I believe that it shouldn't be a problem in the long term. It's just, again, during construction, I'm not going to lie, it is what it is. We're going to have a bit of noise, but after that, I believe the impact is very minimal.
Okay. Thank you. Panel, questions? Dylan.
I've got a few. Yeah. In terms of the parking and transit, could you just maybe go over quickly what the transit that's available in the location is, to like tell us how people will be able to get around without cars?
Yes. So one thing, just to highlight even before we talk about the actual ETC infrastructure, we do have, again, a bike lane, like our neighbor just mentioned, which goes just in front of the property. And we do have a bike sharing station, literally 3 minutes walking from this location. So that's, I think, is a benefit for this project. And also our TTC stop is literally 1.5 block away from this location. We have a bus coming on Rogers Road, and again, this is pretty close also to Q, and not too far from the recently now finally running Eglinton LRT. So we do have, and not to mention St. Clair as well, they will have our own LRT. Okay. So we do have quite a decent infrastructure in terms of buses and public transportation around this property.
Okay, great, thanks. In terms of the bike parking inside, I mean, the units aren't huge. In some cases, I can see a logical place to park a bike. Other ones, it feels like maybe it's in the middle of the living room. Can you just address how you've thought about the bike parking inside the units?
Definitely. I think, well, we'll have 2 people of variance between not showing anything, or trying to come up with a design that at least will consider the biking, the parking spaces, right? In the basement level and on the second floor, I believe they're quite rational and feasible, because you do have a space, you have a wall beside it, and there is realistic space on the 3rd and 4th floor. 3rd floor is below the stairs, is already a compromised area in terms of sitting headroom. And so I don't know if committee can scroll down the pages just so you can see what I'm talking about. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Sorry, go back. This one. This is the 3rd floor, which is below the stairs. The 2nd floor, we have a wall, so we have that partition. Okay, so here you see bicycle parking beneath the stairs. That area is a storage area in nature already, because of the seating constraint, because of the stairs configuration. So either this will be storage for a bicycle or for something else. There's no realistic space to use that for a couch or for a TV or a dining table. That's why you place your furniture on the side. Sorry, can you go back to the 2nd floor, if you don't mind? So on the 2nd floor, we have that wall. We have a partition between them and the actual open living space, kitchen, dining, and living. That's where we pick the location for a bicycle, which is right, within the circulation area. On the fourth floor, it is a bit to our point, in the middle of the living room. Realistically, I don't know how often a person will come to the fourth floor holding a bike. So that's why, again, between not showing anything or showing something that might happen, we decided to show something that might happen.
Okay, thanks. That's helpful. I mean, the good point about the fourth floor, no one's going to want to ride a bike all the way up. Is there a possibility of providing some kind of bike lock up at the rear, in the rear yard, so people don't have to carry them all the way up the stairs? I mean, I know that it wouldn't be, the compliant one that fits the, fits the requirements, but, even just some kind of structure that people can walk their bike to.
Definitely. Can you go to the site plan for the person? Yeah. So if you see, actually, we do provide one at the rear.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yes. Okay. Good.
But
okay.
To your point, we would like to create a concrete pad again and create a bit more, but we have to come up with some sort of balance. This wouldn't solve the variance anyways. This is just to your point of let's try to create the space so they can use it.
Right.
If committee thinks that's something that is required, we can easily triple these, or just for the purpose of making sure that you have this space free.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So you'd be okay with the condition of providing at least one bike parking space in the rear yard, something like that?
100%.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, Dylan. You finished?
Just one other thing. I just wanted to reiterate for the benefit of the neighbor. So what you're saying in terms of the water drainage is, in fact, you'll probably be improving the situation from the current situation, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Anyone else? I have a couple questions. First of all, so I just wanted to look at you've got an access stair or an access thing for the rooftop. Your plans show it as maintenance, but I couldn't tell from the rooftop plan. It didn't look like there was anything up there to maintain. So what's the purpose of that protrusion up there for getting access to the roof?
Great question. So I just mentioned briefly, eventually we'll have to come up with some sort of mechanical design, right? By the time we go for building permit. And our intent, again, given the constraints and limitations, is to place heat pumps, which are pretty efficient, for all the units on the roof. Because on the sides, we do not have realistically a clearance to do so. At the rear, we have exit stairs. So the only possible alternative is placing these units at the roof.
Okay, so you're going to be putting HVAC units up there. Are you going to be, the neighbor was concerned about noise from HVAC, so are you going to shield them in some fashion so to prevent noise carries when they're on a roof?
We can, in terms of noise, these latest units, again, these heat pumps, they're not that noisy. And I think being on top of a fourth floor and the adjacent building only being a 2-story, realistic, I don't know how much noise they're actually going to get given just the distance from the units. But if we see the need to come up with some sort of design to constrain the sound, we can do that as well. Okay. But in real life, I don't know if we're going to be.
But it's not going to. Sorry, it's not going to be used. Your rooftop isn't going to be used for recreational purposes. So tenants aren't going to have access. They're not going to put lawn chairs up there.
No, I hope not. No, the goal is just to come up with maintenance again. Because we've seen that issue before where we put equipment there and the technician would like to come up with a ladder on the side. So we're just trying to be a little bit proactive in terms of cost. It's not a lot. I
understand. Thank you. The second question is about, it looks like from your floor plans you have internal stairs that provide access for tenants to their respective floor. Is that am I interpreting that properly?
Correct.
You also then have external stairs off the back. Are those required by code, or is that just something extra you've put on?
No, otherwise we cannot comply with entire building code. Once you have one shared, you need either one independent entrance for these units or 2 shared exits. So to come up with the separate entrance for each floor, it's literally impossible for this development. So that's why we have the typical cars.
Yeah, I think we're all increasingly interested in options to provide alternative access rather than having those rather large and cumbersome external, almost fire escapey kind of looking stairs in the rear. They do provide a bit of a visual impact on the adjacent neighbors, but if it's code, then that's fine. Okay, anything else, panel? Thank you, sir. We'll take it into committee.
I'm happy to move a motion on this one.
Go ahead, Dylan.
I think this is overall a really quite thoughtful and creative solution to some narrow lots. So I'm happy to move a motion to approve these variances. I believe there's forestry condition number 3 under both of them. I would also include a condition that at least one bicycle parking, secure bicycle parking spot be provided in the rear yard for each one as well.
Do you share my concern about sound?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe we could put a condition that there be sound attenuation around HVAC on the roof?
Yep, happy to do that.
And
absolutely.
finally, I always like to put this one in, if you're okay with it, that there be no recreational use of the rooftop area.
Agreed. I also was concerned about that. I'm glad you asked about it.
All right.
Can I ask one clarifying question? On the bicycle parking condition, Dylan, did you indicate per unit or total?
No, just one.
One total. Okay.
Yeah, one total, because we don't want to take up the whole rear yard, and I think probably the basement and maybe the second floor will be able to put them in their.
So
it's
per
really
building.
just in case,
Okay. Thanks.
in case there's a third or fourth floor
who have to
who
rent
wants
the
one.
fourth floor.
Yeah,
All right,
exactly.
motion by Mr. Reed with those series of conditions. Can I have a seconder? Ms. Plazer, all in favor? Okay, you have your approval with those conditions. Thank you very much. Okay, move on to item number 4. We're doing, Sabrina, we're doing 4, 5, and 6 together as well?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes.
Okay. All right, we will do 4, 5, and 6 together, which is 350, 350 A, B, and C, Vaughan Road. This is an application to construct a 4-story apartment building. A houseplex located on parcel A is approved under site-specific zoning bylaw with front and rear ground floor porches with stairs, front and rear 3rd-story balconies, and front and rear 4th-story terraces. The 2nd story will be cantilevered at the rear, the south side. There'll be a total of 6 residential dwelling units in this building, 2 within the basement, 2 on the ground floor, and 2 occupying the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th stories. There will be 1 vehicular parking space with no bicycle parking spaces on this lot. Committee has before a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations, received May 25th, red line public notice, received May 25th, 1 photograph of the subject property, a covering letter from the agent, previous decision number affecting the subject property, presentation materials from the agent. We have site-specific zoning bylaws affecting the subject property. There are staff reports from urban forestry and community planning. There is correspondence and support on behalf of owners of 92, 94, 96, and 98 Cherrywood and 346, 348 Vaughan Road. And there's correspondence and concern from 86 Cherrywood.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person.
Just going to make one little observation. The description for item 5 and 6 is virtually identical. I don't think I need to read them into the record. Is that right? Okay. Thank you. All right. Oh, there you are.
It's not as complicated as it sounds, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, you say that now. All right, name and address, please, sir.
Craig Race, applicant for the project, 100 Lombard Street.
All right, we do have someone wants to speak on this item, and maybe just to cut through the complexity, if we could ask you to do a presentation for us.
If staff could please pull up our supporting material, I'll walk you through the project.
Oh, should we establish the red line first?
Yeah, you're just changing, the red line is just simply changing the description of the purpose.
Would you like me to read that into the record?
Sure, why don't you?
So the new description is to construct a 4-story apartment building, houseplex located on parcels A, B, and C as approved under site-specific zoning bylaw 776/2021, with front and rear ground floor porches with stairs, front and rear 3rd-story balconies, and front and rear 4th-story terraces. The 2nd story will be cantilevered at the rear south side. There will be a total of 5 residential dwelling units in each building, 1 unit within the basement, 1 unit on the ground floor, 1 unit occupying the ground floor and basement, and 2 units occupying the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th stories.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The application before you is for 3 attached houseplexes totaling 15 units. It is technically defined as an apartment in the zoning bylaw, but these are 3 existing separate lots. There's no common space. All units have individual exterior entrances. Next page, please. The site is located near Bathurst and St. Clair on Vaughan Road, which is defined as a major street in the official plan and zoning bylaw. The area is well served by bike lanes and bus and streetcar lines. Next page, please. Vaughan has a mixed pattern of development, including townhouses, apartments, multi-unit houses, and single-family homes. This is enabled by a mix of zoning designations, including the recently implemented Major Streets bylaw, which applies to all residentially zoned sites on Vaughan. Next page, please. The Major Streets bylaw came into effect in September of last year. Up to 19-meter heights are permitted on all residentially zoned properties. However, the dimensions of this property make it more suitable to a 4-story development that does not require elevators or common space. Next page, please. These properties actually form part of a plan of subdivision that was approved several years ago. The remainder of the site is under different ownership. It is currently undergoing environmental remediation. Next page, please. I'll be pleased to address individual variances as necessary, but to summarize, we attempted to maintain appropriate side yard setback from the existing development to the west. Front yard setbacks are as of right for all but 1 of the properties. And while rear yard setback appears statistically small, when viewed as part of the full development and the rear laneway, it has appropriate separation from existing properties to the south. Building depth was designed to fall within typical requirements for a houseplex. Next page, please. Further design elements were incorporated in concert with feedback from community planning and other city staff departments, including substantial step-ins for the upper story, new street trees and enhanced boulevard landscaping, visitor bike rings, and enclosed waste storage. We are accepting of the conditions recommended in community planning staff report. Next page, please. In addition to neighborhood outreach, our office sought feedback from multiple city departments and stakeholders. The most recent, which prompted some of the red lines before you today, was feedback from Solid Waste Management, who asked that we clarify the enclosed waste storage on the site and ensure that it complies with the bin to unit ratio that's required by the city. Next page, please. I'll keep it brief and conclude by just mentioning that this project is becoming emblematic of an emerging typology in Toronto. The 6-story major street policy is incompatible with sites of this scale. Using the principles of multiplexes creates efficiencies that allow for a 4-story typology to succeed where a taller form does not. But when houseplexes are attached, they don't really fit into the zoning bylaw in a clear way, which is why we're here today. We believe this combination of the apartment and houseplex typologies is the optimal development approach for sites like this on major streets. It embraces the principles of both typologies while creating a development that, on balance, is more fitting of the established pattern while still maintaining the principles of the zoning bylaw and official plan. Thank you. Pleased to answer questions.
Great. We do have someone speak, but I just wanted to, for clarity purposes, the existing site-specific zoning bylaw was 2021, right? So it's clearly out of date, right, for this property? So that's why you're amending it?
There are a handful of approvals, but they all came into existence prior to the houseplex and the major streets policies going into effect.
Right. Okay. All right. We do have someone online.
For you, Mr. Chair, we have the person speaking in opposition online.
Great. Good morning.
Good morning.
Name and address, please, ma'am.
My name is Jessica Tucker, and I live nearby at 86 Cherrywood Avenue.
All right, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'm speaking about the applications for lots A, B, and C at 350 Vaughan Road, and my comments relate to all three applications collectively, as they appear to form one part of one integrated development proposal. I want to emphasize that we support the need for additional housing and missing middle intensification in the city, and we're not opposed to redevelopment of this site in principle. But we do have concerns about whether the cumulative scale of the requested variances results in overdevelopment of the site and whether the proposal can adequately accommodate the intensity being proposed while still maintaining appropriate site functionality, landscaping, circulation, and servicing. In reviewing the materials that were sent in the mail to us, we found it difficult to fully understand the overall scope of the proposal. The application materials referenced multiple lots and multiple apartment buildings, so it was unclear to us how many total dwelling units are ultimately proposed across the full site. We are particularly concerned about the cumulative effect of several significant variances being requested together, including substantial increases in permitted gross floor area and lot coverage, significant reductions in required rear yard setbacks, reductions in required landscaping and soft landscaping, the absence of a required landscaping strip, and a reduction in required visitor parking from 6 spaces to 1. Taken together, these variances raise concerns about whether the site is being pushed beyond what it can comfortably accommodate. Street parking and congestion are already challenging in this area, particularly due to school traffic from Vaughan Road and Cherrywood for Humewood Community School. We are concerned that the proposed parking supply may place additional pressure on surrounding streets. We're also concerned that waste and recyclable materials won't be stored in a wholly enclosed structure. The laneway adjacent to this property already experiences recurring litter accumulation, and we're concerned that inadequate waste storage design could worsen those existing maintenance issues. We also note that no bicycle parking spaces were proposed, despite the city's broader objectives supporting active transportation and reduced reliance on vehicles. And finally, given the site's previous automotive repair use, we would appreciate clarification about whether environmental or soil testing has been completed and whether any remediation is required before redevelopment. Again, I want to say that we support thoughtful intensification and additional housing in this neighborhood. Our concerns are focused on ensuring that the redevelopment of the site are appropriately planned, serviced, and managed so that it contributes positively to both future residents and the surrounding community. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, ma'am. Panel, any questions of the speaker? See none. All right, Mr. Race.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to Ms. Tucker for her deputation. With respect to the environmental impacts of this site, the reason these 3 sites are the first to be developed is because they are the only 3 that did not require environmental remediation. The balance of the approved development is still under remediation, so that I'm not entirely sure what the status is of that portion of the site. As I mentioned, it's under different ownership, so I don't have sightlines into that, unfortunately, but the 3 sites we're reviewing today are cleared for development. I also appreciate Ms. Tucker's comment about the lack of clarity as to how many units and apartment buildings are being proposed. As I mentioned, when we take the houseplex typology and attach it with party walls to multiple properties, it gets redefined in the zoning bylaw as an apartment building, and the public notice reads as an apartment building with 15 units on every site. It is confusing. There is only a total of 5 units per site being proposed here. The reason we pursue that definition is because it simplifies construction. It would be possible to put little 1 centimeter gaps along each property line and have these defined as houseplexes. but we would essentially just be giving up bedroom space and diminishing the suitability of the units to be appropriate for families. So it's an unfortunate evil of the typology. With respect to GFA and law coverage, the chair mentioned that that is a result of the site-specific approvals for the broader development. More recent bylaw revisions that were applied citywide have eliminated coverage and gross floor area and FSI requirements for all multi-unit development in the city. It similarly removed parking. Again, if we put 1 centimeter gaps between these, we would not have any parking variances. It's because they're attached with more efficient party walls that we have that on the notice. Speaking of parking though, we did include 1 parking space in the rear. That was reviewed with community planning staff. We have also implemented visitor parking through bike rings in the boulevard. That was actually a request by community planning staff to increase soft landscaping in the boulevard, plant trees, and enhance bike parking. There's also discussion of sidewalk widening. None of those elements specifically apply to this subject property, but are a condition of the approval recommended by staff. And finally, there was mention of waste storage. The late amendments that came through today were discussed in concert with solid waste management. They have included a requirement for an enclosed bin area of a certain size that they have verified will meet the requirements of the city standards. I hope I addressed her comments. We feel that because this is on a major street, it does not fit into a box as cleanly as we would like, but we do think that by merging the apartment and houseplex typologies, it's ultimately a better typology for the neighborhood.
Great, thank you. So are you then eliminating variance number 7? Because you don't need relief from that if you're doing an enclosed waste storage facility?
I think it might be different on each notice. It's 8 on the one I'm looking at. So we do still need that. The requirement in the bylaw is that the enclosed storage area be inside the building, not,
that's an apartment.
not an ancillary structure.
Yeah.
So the variance is still required.
Okay. But you will be providing covered outside.
Yes, the recently amended drawings that were included along with the red line notice illustrate that on the site plan.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, panel, questions? Dylan?
Yeah, I guess the first question, so you talked about, how there's still, despite the low rear setback, there's actually going to be a gap with anything else. It looks like the other development is planning some kind of accessory building right behind. Do you know what that is? And how do we know that that's not going to be a residence?
We have no certainty on that. The plan of subdivision lists it as accessory building for vehicle parking. Presumably, if that, garage. Yeah, they would have to come back for minor variances to make that a residence.
Okay. No, that's kind of what I wanted to understand. Okay, great. So I guess my concerns are mostly with the rear yard, the lack of rear yard landscaping and the lack of bike parking. I'm wondering if you can speak to that. Like, it feels like perhaps like the so I can't remember which ones are A, B, and C, but the top one has plenty of space at the back, and that's where you're putting your waste storage. The other two have very limited setbacks, limited landscaping, and obviously no space for bike parking, which you have pointed out. Bikes is one of the ways that we expect people to get around without parking. So I was just wondering if you could speak to that.
Certainly. In our discussions with community planning staff, bike rings on the boulevard were all that was requested of us. We had proposed bike storage in the bin enclosure. I think that's still a discussion with staff and for our clients. There's also area under the overhangs at the back that is not apparent on the site plan where it would be possible to have additional bins or bikes. With respect to the size of the rear yard, certainly the subject properties are small, but when you consider the additional development space that will be proceeding and the laneway, we simply view it as having a substantial setback. In terms of the lack of soft landscaping, that's something we'll have to be reviewing prior to permit submission. As part of the water service application, we will have to provide civil drawings that show water runoff, and the site will likely need stormwater retention and other remediation.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Gary?
Just wanted to ask the applicant, so you're aware of the recent community planning staff report of May 22nd, last Friday. You've seen that, have you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Okay.
We're accepting of those conditions.
Thanks, Chair. That's all I had.
All right, Mr. Race, you're fairly active in this field. I just have a question again about stairs. All your access for each floor are internal. So there's no code requirement for an external or second exit or entrance into each of those?
That's correct. When your unit exits directly to outside, there's no requirement for a secondary means of egress. It's only when multiple units share interior space as their exit path where they would require a second exit.
Okay, so for example, if there is a stairway along the side of a 4-story building and each of the upper floors uses that stairwell to access their front door, that would be a requirement where they need a staircase in the rear, for example.
Precisely.
Okay. So there's an effort underway to look at single exit stairs in the city. And right now it's kind of as a case-by-case basis. In a situation like I just described, is there a scenario where the city would accept a proposal that didn't have those rear exit fire escapes type stairs?
I think that would be a possibility. We actually studied that on this site, like merging all 3 properties and having a 6-story apartment building, possibly with a single stair. Still on a site this size, even if we were to merge all 3 lots, we would end up with less rentable space than the typology you're seeing before you. So that is something that's emerging. The alternative solution process is cumbersome and unpredictable and costly, both on the time.
It's case by case, right?
Very much so. So it's not something we're relying on yet.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right, any further questions? See none? All right, take it in committee. Anyone want this one?
I can start a discussion.
Sure. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, I think seeing the amount of work, the considered revisions that have taken place, I really think that this is a supportable application as amended. I appreciate all the questions brought up around bicycle parking, waste management, and I think that those have been addressed adequately. Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. I'd love to hear other people's thoughts.
Great. I'll weigh in. I actually think this is supportable. This is, a large lot. There's been a lot of attention being played on this one. It's a major street. It has fairly active and regular bus service that will provide support or access not only to St. Clair, but eventually to Eglinton. So it's pretty close to major transit. And we're seeing, particularly to the northerly and southerly portions of Vaughan, we're seeing a fair amount of interest in density intensification. I think this is consistent with what we're seeing along this strip. 4 stories is not 6, so I think it's not going to provide a dramatic impact. Notwithstanding what the neighbors made a number of points, I think the agent's done a reasonably good job of addressing those, and I think that given the circumstances and the proportionality of the lot, this is a reasonable application. So I'll be supporting it as well. Dylan?
Yeah, I think overall it's okay, but I do feel that it's trying to squeeze, it's trying to put the same plan on different parts of the lot that don't necessarily fit it. Like I think the most northerly, the most westerly one is totally, there's space for that. but by the time you get to the bottom, it's squeezing too much in. I feel like you do need to provide some kind of bike parking solution. And unlike the other one that we just saw, these units are very small and there's no real scope for putting bike parking inside. And really the soft landscaping is really limited. So I feel like it needs to be rethought a little bit, and I don't think I can support it in its current state. I think that it's well on the way to being a good proposal, but I feel like it needs some revision for those issues.
Okay, Gary?
Well, I think having reviewed the planning staff report of last week, that I'm satisfied with the changes. So yeah, I could be supportive of this, Chair.
Okay, I'll need a motion then from someone. Katie, you want to try?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve as amended with urban forestry condition 3, as well as the 3 conditions provided by community planning.
Okay, and the forestry conditions are for all 3 parcels, right?
Okay. Yes.
All right, Gary, do you want to second this?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, motion by Ms. Fleisler, seconded by Mr. McKay to approve. All in favor? Opposed? Mr. Reed is opposed. The motion carries. The application is approved.
Thank you.
Okay, move on to item number 7. 278 to 280 Augusta Avenue. This is an application to permit the partial conversion of ground floor garages into amenity and storage spaces, which will reduce the number of on-site parking spaces from 8 to 3. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of subject property, covering letter from the agent, correspondence from the agent as well. We have previous decision number affecting the subject property. We have old floor plans from the agent. Not sure what that is. Fire service notice of violation affecting the subject property.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Great. Mr. Goldman.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Barry Goldman. I'm the agent for this application. My address is 321 Carlaw Avenue, Suite 203. I believe the application before you is minor in nature. I'm happy to make a presentation if you like, or just answer any questions if you prefer.
A very quick overview, in part because you've got a notice of violation on the property, so maybe we could just give us a little bit of a summary and speak to that issue.
Absolutely. If you could pull up the ground floor plan, please. I believe it's A2. There we are. Okay, and if you wouldn't mind just zooming in on the back portion, because that's great. Thank you. Sorry, we lost that. A little to the right, please. We're looking at the front half. There we are. Excellent. Thank you. So the existing building was designed with a large garage area open to the exterior with the floors above over the garage. So effectively within the building envelope. And the stairs that you see in the center of this drawing were just opening to the garage area. And I think that worked perfectly in the 60s and 70s and so on. But the owners, without obtaining a building permit, decided to try and control access to the space for the usual reasons. It's in Kensington, by installing garage doors without the benefit of a permit. And they didn't realize that by doing that, they'd rendered the 2 exits into not exits, because the exits were exiting to what was considered outside. This is a long-winded code explanation, sorry. So effectively, by controlling the access to the rear by installing the doors, they rendered the exits into not exits. So to satisfy building code, they needed to construct a fire-rated corridor connecting those stairs directly to the rear. So they essentially were obliged to construct a corridor and decided, hey, if we have to do this anyway, why don't we turn this frown upside down? The parking was not really being used in any case, so they added some additional storage and a staff lounge, since they were obliged to create this indoor space in the garage. And really that's more or less what the order to comply was about, or the fire order. And that's really where the additional GFA is coming from, It's the space of the corridor itself, which is required to safely transit from that stair out to the rear, and the storage and lounges.
Great, thank you. That was very helpful to understanding what's going on. Panel, any questions? See none? Thank you, Mr. Goldman. We'll take it into committee.
I'm happy to move a motion.
All right, Dylan, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's purely interior changes, no impact. Kensington, I think, obviously a place where 8 parking spaces is not really necessary for a hostel. So I think this is definitely, and creating better fire safety. So I think it's definitely an improvement, and I'm happy to move a motion to approve these variances without conditions.
All right, motion by Mr. Reid to approve. I have a seconder. Ms. Blaitzer, all in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. We move on to item number 8. 139 Christie Street. This is an application to construct a new 3-story detached houseplex with rear basement walkout, a front ground floor bay window, and a front ground floor covered garbage storage area, and a front planter box. A side yard main entrance on the ground floor. The second and third floors of the side portion of the dwelling will be cantilevered with a canopy. 3 platforms with rear exterior staircases leading to all levels, and also to construct a rear 2-story detached ancillary building, which is a laneway suite, containing 1 residential dwelling unit abutting the laneway with canopies at the front and the rear east sides of the laneway. There'll be a total of 5 residential dwelling units on this lot, 4 within the main dwelling and 1 in the laneway street. Committee has before it a copy of the plan and survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, presentation materials from the agent. We have staff report from Urban Forestry, 1 letter in support from 137 Christie.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and 1 speaker in interest.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning. Sarah Barkley. I'm the designer and agent on behalf of the owner. My address is 686 Warden Avenue.
Great, thank you, ma'am. We have someone who wants to speak to this item, so we'll need a presentation, please.
Sure. Good morning, members of the committee. The proposal before you is for a new 4-plex and laneway suite.
You want your presentation materials called up?
Sure. Yeah, actually, if you can go to page 2, that outlines the area.
Okay.
So the property is a very narrow lot located on a major street directly adjacent to Christie Pitts Park and within a 5-minute walk of the subway station. It is also located within a major transit station area where planning policy encourages additional density and a broader range of housing. So given the site context, we felt that a multiplex with a laneway suite is an appropriate form of gentle intensification. But due to the constrained dimensions of the lot, we do require some relief from the bylaw. However, many of the variances either reflect existing conditions or improve upon what exists today. If you could go to page 5 of the supporting documents, the site plan might be a good illustration. So the proposed front yard setback does maintain the existing setback of the current dwelling. The reduced north side yard setback is an improvement over the existing condition. It's approximately 0.18 meters currently, and we are increasing that to 0.56 at the upper levels and 0.9 meters at grade. The south side yard setback and exterior stairs proposed also generally maintain the existing building alignment and the relationship to the neighboring property. The proposed building depth remains shorter than the adjacent dwellings. And while relief is requested for soft landscaping, the proposal still improves the amount of landscaping that is currently provided on the site. So throughout this design process, we were very mindful of the relationship with the neighboring properties, and we worked to create a proposal that increased density in a sensitive way that would not provide a huge impact on their property, and hopefully is improving the existing condition. So overall, we believe that the proposal represents thoughtful planning and provides much needed missing middle housing. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks. I think we'll hold questions till we hear from the speaker. Thanks. I think we'll hold questions till we hear from the speaker. Excellent.
Great.
Hi, good morning.
Hi,
good morning.
Good morning. It's Alvin. How are you?
Fine. Full name and address, please.
Hello.
Fine. Full name and address, please. We've got
Sure.
a bit of
Alvin
a technical.
Kang,
Hang on a sec, sir.
141
We've got a
Christie
bit of a technical issue. So.
Hang on
a sec, sir. We've got a bit of a technical issue. So. Oh, is it on your end, sir? Have you got more than one device open this morning?
Oh.
Hello?
Hello. Hello.
Hello. There, I think that's
Hi.
better. Good.
Is that better?
Yeah, that is better. Okay, sorry again, sir. Full name and address, please.
Sure. Alvin Kang, 141 Christie Street.
All right, you have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you. So as a general statement, I'm supportive of housing development in this neighborhood and appreciate the thoughtfulness that Sarah and her team have put into this project for 139 Christie Street. I have some concerns, but do not necessarily oppose this application. And my concerns are twofold. Primarily, the creation of sufficient space between 141 Christie and 139 Christie, that defined as the property's north lot line, that there be some reassurance that this be a, I understand that the new dwelling will be set back 0.56 meters from the north side. And although this is an increase of 0.18 meters, I would like to just have some reassurance that the overall walkway will still be meeting this bylaw to allow for a walkway that's sufficient for somebody to walk through, snow clearance, and also emergency services for individuals. And that walkway could include some part of my property as well. The second concern I have is some discussion about water drainage, given that there's an installation of a flat roof on the top for the building, and I understand that water drainage may not be necessarily addressed here, but there be some reassurance that this be addressed in a future meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll bring the agent back to respond to those two issues. Ms. Barclay?
Hi, yes, thank you. So the current house has a very tight setback. So there's actually only about 6 inches between 139 and 141 Christie on the property right now. So this creates a condition where snow accumulates and there's no room for adequate drainage on the lot or maintenance in between the two buildings. So the new proposal is increasing that setback. So we are required to have a 0.9 by 2.1 meter access for firefighting services, as well as access to the main entry, which is on the side of the building. So that will in and of itself create a walkway that can be, it will be cleared of snow. It also provides an opportunity for potentially doing shared waterproofing throughout construction, which has also been discussed with both neighbors. So we've also considered drainage of the flat roof and how we would be looking to divert that into the green space in both the front and rear yard. And then we will also be providing a site grading plan as part of the permit application, which will be done by a licensed surveyor, and that will ensure proper water management within our property. So hopefully with all of that in mind, it will dramatically improve the situation on the site.
All right, great. Thank you. Panel, any questions of the agent? See none.
I just had one.
Oh, sorry, Katie.
I saw in your site plan that you indicate that the bicycle parking as well as stair area could be provided in permeable surfaces. Is that a condition you would be open to, just to slightly improve that rear yard soft landscaping?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually intended to be compliant with the rear yard landscaping, but the examiners count those surfaces as hardscape.
Okay.
So that's why we are under on landscaping. But realistically, the stairs at the back, which is a required exit, we've been talking about already today, those are metal. It's usually a perforated metal. Water drains through them and goes to the surface underneath, which would be a green space on our property. Bicycle parking as well could potentially be on some kind of permeable surface. It's just that when they review it under zoning, they do consider it as hard surface.
Understood. And so if we were to say that, for example, the bicycle parking spaces are to be provided in permeable pavers, that's agreeable to you as
yes,
a condition?
For sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? All right, let's go into committee. This is a good proposal. Hardly any, it's almost as of right for the suite in behind, which is always good to see. Any comments?
I'm happy to move a motion on this one.
All right, let's do that.
I thought the explanations provided today were really helpful. I did have a couple of questions about the side entrance, which the agent answered adequately for me. I think it's an attractive proposal. I think it fits really nicely into the neighborhood character. We have a bit of support from the community as well provided. It is a major street, an MTSA, really good proximity to public green space right across the street, as well as a lot of great transit options. So I think, yeah, I'm happy to support this, move a motion, including urban forestry number 3. And I would like to include that motion, the condition that I just mentioned too, around a little extra permeable surface in the backyard.
We need to be specific. So for the site that shows the bicycle parking, is that what you want?
That's right. The area shown as bicycle parking to be provided in permeable.
Okay. Motion by Ms. Plaitzer to that effect, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? Have your approval. Thank you. Move on to item number 9. 80 Geary Ave. This is an application to permit an eating establishment to occupy the full ground floor area of the existing 3-story mixed-use building. The existing 2 residential units on the 2nd and 3rd floors will be maintained and unaltered. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent. Oh, no, covering letter from an individual on behalf of Dark Horse Espresso Bar. We have a previous decision number affecting the subject property. We have email correspondence from Heritage Planning. There's correspondence and support from several addresses on Geary and the surrounding streets. Okay.
Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and 1 speaker in interest.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning. Edward Lee here on behalf of the owner for Dark Horse Espresso. I am at 6 Argyle Street, Toronto.
Great, sir. We have someone who wants to speak to this item, so we'll need a short presentation, please.
Yes. If committee members had a chance to read the owner's covering letter, it explains the ordeal that Dark Horse Espresso has been through. They were one of the first coffee shops to establish themselves on Geary back when it was still primarily industrial EI type uses. And obviously that has become the neighborhood coffee hangout for all of the residents in this neighborhood. And it was well loved. The landlord chose to not renew the lease with Dark Horse, seeing an opportunity to raise rents. So as a result, they had to look for a new location and wanted to stay in the area and specifically on Geary. And this location, which is currently a tattoo parlor, the tattoo parlor went to Committee of Adjustments several years ago to be approved specifically for a tattoo parlor use. This is a residential zoned property, but in the context of a commercial EI zone. So obviously, I informed the owner that a minor variance would be needed to change this use from a previously approved tattoo parlor to cafe eating establishment. We campaigned the neighborhood to make sure that there was good support for this application. And I believe that being at the intersection of Geary and Dovercourt, it's an appropriate location for this type of use. We also consulted with the various departments and expected no opposition or comments or concerns about the application. Obviously, I'm here to answer any questions you have about the proposal and to hear the interested speaker as well if they have any concerns.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. All right. I think we'll just move to the speaker.
Zachary, you're unmuted.
Thank you, everyone. May I proceed?
Yeah. Name and address, please, sir.
Excellent. Thank you. My name is Zachary Ethan Meadow. My address is 1115 Dovercourt Road, which, although it's a different address, is within the same building. I am the immediate upstairs neighbor from this unit. So my floor is their ceiling. So I want to express my concern with regard to noise. So during the ongoing renovation process, which has been in motion for, I would say, anywhere from a month to 6 weeks, the construction crew has been in violation of noise bylaws several times. I have reported these instances to Alyssa Malatesta, a representative of the landlord, Malatesta Real Estate, and reported these violations to 311. This has happened, I would say, between 4 and 5 times. In light of the negligence already shown during the renovation process, I would like to ask what measures the new businesses and the landlord will be able to take to ensure my reasonable enjoyment and quality of life as the immediate upstairs neighbor. And I would like to note that although the agent said that they canvassed the neighborhood, even me, as probably the most immediately subjected to the change in this property, I was never consulted. No one sought my input into this. And so I just want to express finally that I'm ultimately in support of Dark Horse taking over this unit. The tattoo parlor was an excellent neighbor. They were virtually made no noise. But I would like to know what Dark Horse can do to ensure that noise is not going to be an ongoing issue for me. And with that, I'll yield the rest of my time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. All right. We'll bring the agent back to speak to that issue.
Hi. I actually was informed by the owner, Dark Horse owner, that complaints had come from the neighbor upstairs. I wasn't obviously involved in, the landlord, giving the tenants upstairs any heads up about the proposed work and the committee of adjustment. I assume that the owner and landlord would have informed. The only work that's actually ongoing in the space is all cosmetic. This is a very quick, low-budget renovation, as you can imagine, being forced to move from their original location down the street. So any building permits that are required for the actual work would have to be obtained following a committee of adjustment approval. And to answer the Zachary's questions about noise, Dark Horse is a daytime operating cafe. There won't be any issues with noise after hours. I don't know if they play music during the daytime during their operating hours, but they plan to be a good neighbor to tenants in the building. Other than that, I don't personally know anything beyond their operations at their current location that would have an impact on the tenants' enjoyment of their space. If there's anything specific that they'd like addressed, I could try to answer.
All right. Thank you, sir. Panel questions. Gary?
Sorry, I just lost you a second. Sorry, Chair, just a difficulty here.
Yep, go ahead.
All right, thanks. So there's no additional drywall being installed, for example, as a way of trying to mitigate the noise. And do you have for dark for the coffee shop? Do you know what its evening hours would be?
I do not. To the best of my knowledge, I don't believe they're open anytime beyond late afternoon or early evening at latest. They do not plan to serve alcohol. They are strictly a coffee shop by day. So I see no reasons why they would be changing their operation hours. And obviously, if they did choose to, they have to respect the bylaws. I don't know anything about construction going on outside of construction hours. But obviously, they're planning to do a very quick reno, and hopefully once approved at Committee of Adjustments, they'll be opening soon after. And, hopefully the neighbor upstairs will have a great coffee shop downstairs from them. And hopefully both can exist harmoniously without any issues. We don't plan on doing any drywall work to the space. It's been approved as a commercial space, and we're changing the use from an equivalent use building code wise to a Group E cafe. So it does not necessitate any fire separation work. So the tenant upstairs can be reassured that we're not pulling down the entire ceiling or anything that would expose him to additional noise or risk of fire, etc.
Would you undertake essentially to just advise the owners of the coffee shop proprietors of this concern of the neighbor, since he's indicated several times he's
yes, no, absolutely. He is aware, and he did give me the heads up prior to today's hearing that the neighbor upstairs has complained, and I'm sure he will be reaching out to make amends and make sure that they can coexist cooperatively together.
Okay. Yeah, I understand. I see Heritage has no comment, and there seems to be lots of support letters, certainly in the area. Okay. All right. Thanks, Chair.
Hey, Dylan?
No, I was going to ask the same question that Gary just asked.
Yeah. I imagine there's
undertaking to speak to the owners about the construction.
Yeah, I imagine, given that there was a commercial unit there already, underneath a residential, that there would be some form of sound attenuation in the ceiling. Building code, I think, would require that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll take this into committee.
I'm happy to take this on. I've been to the Dark Horse in its former location. It's a great asset for that neighborhood because there's a lot of people visit. So I'm very much in favor of finding a new location for it. This seems like a very appropriate one. It's on a corner lot. It's already being used as commercial. I know that there's some other properties in that area that are also being used as commercial in that little section. So I think this is extremely appropriate and will benefit the neighborhood. So I'm happy to move support for the move to approve the variances requested.
Great, thank you. I would just add that I thought the letter from the owner was an excellent letter in terms of describing the project and the benefits to the surrounding area. Motion by Mr. Reid to approve, a seconder.
Yes.
Mr. McKay, all in favor. You have your approval, thank you. Do we need anyone need a 5-minute break? Are you good to go? Keep going? You're good to keep going?
Perhaps one more, and then perhaps a break before 11:30, Chair,
right.
if that's possible. Okay.
Okay. Item number 10 is 108 Clovelly. This is an application to construct a new 4-story detached houseplex with front and rear basement walkouts, front and rear porches with stairs, front and rear balconies on the 2nd and 3rd stories, and front and rear terraces on the 4th story. The 2nd story will be cantilevered on the west side of the building, also to construct a new rear 2-story detached ancillary building containing a garden suite and 5 bicycle parking spaces. There'll be a total of 7 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property, presentation materials from the agent. We have email correspondence from Transportation Review and from Urban Forestry. We have correspondence and support from 110 Clovelly. We have 5 form letters in support from owners occupants of 85, 103, 107, 112 Clovelly, and 205 Gloucester Grove. There is correspondence and opposition from Anjani Dial Howie, no address provided. 55 signature petition in opposition from owners occupants of Clovelly, Glenholm, Gloucester, and Grayton Crescent.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person and 2 speakers in opposition in person.
All right, back at it, Mr. Race.
Good morning again.
Name and address for the record, please.
Craig Race, 100 Lombard Street.
All right, here we have some people who want to speak to this item, so we'll need a presentation.
Certainly, if staff could please pull up our supporting material. The application before you is for a 6-plex with a partial 4-story and a 2-story garden suite in the rear of the property. Next page, please. The site is located near Eglinton and Dufferin. It is within the Oakwood Protected Major Transit Station area, where the official plan promotes 4-story development and a minimum of 3 units per lot as the targeted development density for this area. Given its proximity to Oakwood Station on the Eglinton Crosstown and Cedarvale subway station, that is why this development is being pursued. And as of right, zoning bylaw will permit 4- and 6-story heights in this area, likely later this summer. However, even when that bylaw comes into effect, some of the variances we are requesting will still be required, which is why we are bringing this application forward at this time. Next page, please. I'm pleased to address specific variances as needed, but key aspects I'll address at this time include the east side yard setback. This is an existing setback, as we've noted a portion of the existing east wall in the site plan. If 50% of the existing walls were maintained, this would be a lawfully existing setback, but we are required to build entirely as new construction in order to qualify for HST exemptions through the CRA's purpose-built rental housing program. Nonetheless, the east neighbor still maintains a substantial setback from their side yard setback property line, so separation between buildings remains consistent. And their rear yard access is not affected by this proposal. The garden suite, however, which is new construction, complies with required setbacks from the east neighbor. Also, the height variance we are requesting is aligned with our current understanding of the forthcoming MTSA zoning bylaw being contemplated by planning staff at this time. Further, it's important to note the variances we are not seeking. There is no variance being sought for front yard setback, west side yard setback, building depth, or main wall height. We have attempted to maintain the principles of the zoning bylaws in this development while also bringing into effect the current goal of the official plan for additional density. Next page, please. Of the variances being requested, east side yard setback was the element that raised the most questions. As mentioned, we are maintaining the setback. Nonetheless, we performed a study to determine if the proposed setback aligns with the established pattern of the neighborhood. Our study area of the adjacent streets found 82% of homes have side yard setbacks equal to or less than what is being proposed here. This, along with the large separation from the neighbor to the east, gave us confidence that this was appropriate for the context and minor in nature. Next page, please. In addition to neighbor outreach, revisions were undertaken in concert with community planning staff, including improvements to platform setbacks and landscaping improvements. Staff correspondence indicates no concerns with this application, and we are accepting of forestry condition 3. Okay. Next page, please. In conclusion, this application is relatively unexceptional for a modern houseplex application, except for the partial 4th story on the main building. This is an element that was enabled by council when TSAs were brought into effect at the end of last year. Chapter 8.8 of the official plan makes clear that additional units as a minimum of 3 per property are the goal of this area, and that heights of 4 stories or even 6 stories slightly closer to the transit stations are the goal of our city's growth pattern. That will soon become encoded in our zoning bylaw, and we feel the application is appropriate given all those policy directions. Pleased to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. One just technical question before we hear from the speakers. It is in the PMTSA. The the bylaw hasn't yet been altered to accommodate that. You mentioned that the expectation is that the bylaw will contemplate 4 to 6 stories. Was that out for consultation yet? That's been part of a consultative process already, as far as you know?
Yes, so it was enacted in the official plan, Chapter 8.8, I believe in September of last year. Don't quote me on that. But the zoning bylaw is currently in the process of being amended. It has undergone public consultation.
Right.
A draft of that is expected literally any day now, and provincial guidance requires it to be enacted this summer. Otherwise, the city faces consequences.
Right. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. All right, let's go to our speaker. Craig, you're going to have to step back into the gallery. If you want to go to the middle chair, ma'am, so you're straight on camera.
Thank you.
And is the green light on?
It is. Thank you.
I'll need your name and address, please.
Johnny Dial Howie of 205 Gloucester Grove.
Okay. Ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I'm here today to object to this proposed construction at 108 Clovelly Avenue. The construction is immediately behind my home. And we have gone to 55, we were able to get 55 petitioners to sign saying that they object to this construction. Why do we object to this construction? When we received the letter, we looked at it at a glance, and the summary page says, let me put on my glasses, that the variances requested are minor. The proposal is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land. The general intent and purpose of the city's zoning code and bylaws are maintained, and the general intent and purpose of the official plan are maintained, which I know are the purpose of the COA. I'm not an expert on bylaws or COA rules or anything. I just heard the gentleman explain that there are bylaws which have not yet been approved, but his building is in line with the new bylaws. So when we received this letter, we saw minor variances, and then I said to myself, that new building that went up next door, it's taken away my privacy, it's taking away my light. Let me look at this thing in detail. And I started auditing variants 1 to 9. And when I went through, I realized that there were at least 3 variances, which in my humble opinion, do not merit the word minor. They are major variances. For example, variance number 1 speaks to a 4-story building going up. If you look at the 2 streets, Gloucester Grove and Clovelly Avenue, which are parallel to each other, there is not one single building there that is more than 2 stories high. And also, those lots of lands hold 1 family dwelling. This building is going to comprise of 7 new family, I don't know what you could call them because they're very, very tiny buildings. So we are going to have an influx of people at the back there, my back, 7 people on 1 lot, 6 in the adjacent lot, 30 new sets of people. My concerns are not only in terms of the variance number 1, but the variance number 4 and 5 with respect to soft landscaping. If you look at, I sent some photographs, that is my backyard. That is Mr. Joel's backyard, 203. We have a humongous landscaping. We have birds, bees, animals in the back there, trees, Mother Nature. We are going to have to give up, not ours, but on the other street, all of that is going to be missing from the neighborhood. That neighborhood is an old neighborhood. It is mainly Italian and Portuguese people who have, some of them have built those homes themselves. They have been living there for decades. We are accustomed to having our huge backyards and our cherry trees and our plum trees and talking to each other very nicely. Joe and I have been neighbors for 26 years. He will speak after I speak. So I am very concerned about the loss of soft landscaping. I'm very concerned about the height of the building. I'm very concerned about the height of the ancillary building. All of these are above the bylaws that are presented in this letter of adjustment. And I am speaking to these bylaws. I do not know of the new bylaws because nobody has presented them to us. So we do not know what future plans the city has for the area. While I understand that the city is having an influx of new people and we want to provide rental units, agreed, but this area is single family homes. Look, this is the building that's at 110 Clovelly. It's already dwarfing every single residence on that street and on Gloucester. And now you're telling me the one next door that is going up, 108 Clovelly, is going to be even higher than this three-story building. With 13 new sets of people coming into this little neighborhood, I expect we are going to have a lot of problems with noise, with parking, with garbage disposal, and just...
I'm just going to ask you to kind of wrap up your time.
I know. When I start to talk, I can talk. So basically, I have put on paper with signatories, with photographs, what I'm trying to convey. It is going to drastically change the aesthetics and the integrity of that entire area.
Right.
And this is why I'm here today.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Panel, any questions of the speaker? No? Thank you, ma'am. We have another speaker here? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Giuseppe.
Just have a seat and speak into the microphone so we can hear you. Name and address, please, sir.
My name is Giuseppe Giusto. I live right behind the unit that's proposed to go up. My parents built...
Sorry, what's the address there, sir?
I'm sorry, 203 Gloucester Grove. Okay, and my parents built that house. The community has been a small, tight-knit community. We would have had at least a couple of hundred more signatures had we had ample time to put it together, opposing the project. Now, some of the points that I've got here is we're a 40-year resident. We're worried about the overcrowding. I'm also concerned about the integrity and character of the aesthetic value of the neighborhood. 110 Clovelly or 108, the trees have been cut down. I don't know whether the forestry division has been told. We were picking pears off those trees a couple of years ago. The laws were written to basically to protect the integrity and the conformity of the neighborhood and the municipal bylaws and you know, there's all kinds of developments going up. We've got all kinds of rental housings right now. There's a huge development that just went up on Oakwood, just south of Eglinton on the west side. We've got, you know, basically this development has taken away our peace and quiet and enjoyment of our yard and, you know, the environment. The developer has contravened 9 bylaws saying that they were minor, but they're major variances. They were enacted, the bylaws were basically enacted to protect the city and the residents. He's not asking for permission, he's just asking for forgiveness. You know, like, this request is unreasonable. I'm sure everything can be worked out and favorable for all the residents that are opposing this. One of the agents and one of the developers that came by, his name was Corbin, he handed out a letter saying that there were just minor variances. And so we assumed that they were just like small little infractions. But once my neighbor and myself started looking at this, it became a major situation. And when we got a 4-story building going up, it's going to kill our shade, like, you know, it's going to kill the shading and it's going to kill everything. And it just doesn't fit in. It's like you're putting something in the middle of something and it just not part of the package. And I don't know what else to say.
Thank you, sir. So if you talked a number of things about the character of the neighborhood and such. If you were to pick the main thing that you're concerned about impacting you personally, what would it be?
Impacting me, my privacy, noise. We've got a homeless shelter. We got a shelter a couple doors away that we've got all kinds of derelicts in the street. We're trying to clean up that whole area. And the last thing we need is more traffic, more congestion. And the developer hasn't done anything to satisfy the neighbors, hasn't done anything. They've come in and said, this is what we want. This is what we're going to take. But Corbin had said that, they'll plant some trees in the backyard, some cedar trees. I don't know what else they're going to do to make this project fit into the community. So it's not one specific thing. It's just a multitude of little things. You can call them minor variances on our part. I don't know what else to say, He's got to do something. They got to do something, maybe shorten the height of the building. And, that guest house that's going to be in the back, it's like 4 feet away from our property line. And it's going to be 2 stories. There is a 2-story building on the property right now. I don't know what else to say, sir. The neighbors feel the same way, all the neighbors. And, they signed that petition.
Okay, I understand. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Any questions, panel, of the speaker? Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, I think that's it. We'll have the agent back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If staff could, this site plan's probably appropriate. The first comment I want to speak to is the impact on the neighbors to the north. Obviously, the north is where shadow and privacy is going to be most impactful. You will notice the north rear yard setback for the garden suite is as of right, as is height for the garden suite. We have attempted to follow the accessory dwelling unit bylaws to ensure that it is equally impactful to any other application that may come through, whether it's through committee or as of right. It's also worth noting there are no north-facing windows in the garden suite, so privacy and overlook has been, I think, adequately addressed in the provisions of the zoning bylaw, which we're following, along with the setback and height provisions. I'll also note that while there is a separation variance of 7 meters, the requirement is 7.5. So the size of the rear yard here relative to an as-of-right condition, in our opinion, is minor. The depth of the main building is actually slightly less than is permitted by the Houseplex bylaws. So we feel that the size of the main building is positioned on the lot, and the pattern of open spaces and heights of structures is generally in keeping with the principles of the official plan and the zoning bylaw. The only exception to that is the 4th story of the main building, which it was rightfully noted that we do not know what the as-of-right zoning bylaw is going to be when applied to all MTSAs and PMTSAs in the city. We know within a rough amount that we are generally following that requirement. However, we've attempted to address any concerns with that uncertainty by stepping in the 4th floor relatively substantially from both the front and the rear. So the perceived massing and shadow impact of that 4th story is minimally impactful. It's worth noting that there is no main wall height variance for the main building. That does speak to how those step-ins have allowed the building to follow the requirements of the bylaw. And as I mentioned, the 4th story is really the only element that I would say is something I would consider exceptional for this application. All other variances are in keeping with what is typically approved at the committee, including the neighbor immediately west of here. For example, our front soft landscaping requirement, we were advised by community planning staff to match their variance exactly, which is why we resulted in the soft landscaping variances before you today. The 4th story, however, does have policy framework that directs us to allow this type of development. The official plan clearly states 4 stories is the intended development height for this area, as is the unit count. I will note there is no variance for unit count. This is, as of right, 6 units and ADU, as is permissible on all sites in this neighborhood currently. Just looking at my notes here. I think generally speaking about the deputant's discussion of attempting to clean up the neighborhood is something that I think resonates with us. They have met the owner of this property who is responsible for the development. I've worked with this owner before. I would say his character is exceptional when it comes to multiplex developers. The quality of buildings he produces, I think, stands out in the city, as is the quality of tenant he attracts to his projects. I think this will be a positive step forward for the neighborhood, and I do think it is generally in keeping with the zoning bylaw and official plan.
Okay, great. Thank you. Panel, questions? Dylan. Dylan, you're muted, sir.
Sorry, as you pointed out, the 4th floor is really the thing that stands out. It feels like this is a case where the zoning hasn't quite caught up with the official plan and other policies. I'm assuming it wouldn't really be possible to do a 4th story within the 11-meter height limit. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, sir. It wouldn't be possible to do a 4th story within what?
The 11-meter height that the zoning currently calls for.
No.
Right, like at the moment we have a policy that allows a 4th story in this area, but the zoning only allows 11 meters. So I'm assuming that in practical terms, you couldn't really do a 4th story within 11 meters.
That is correct. And our understanding of the forthcoming zoning bylaw amendments that will apply to all MTSAs is that a 13-meter approximate height is what will come into effect, which will allow for that 4th story to be permissible.
Right. So in that case, you might have had like, a 0.5 meter variance that you needed, but nothing.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. The other question was, there was some concern about privacy, and you do have a 4th floor terrace. Would you be okay with the condition that privacy screens have to be added on the sides of that 4th floor rear terrace?
Yes, certainly.
Okay. I think that's all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Gary?
Yes, thanks. The soft landscaping in both the front yard and rear yard are substantially reduced. So I just wanted to maybe explain a little further your comment that you worked with the planning staff and they're saying essentially try to match which is essentially there in the nearby neighborhood in terms of soft landscaping.
Correct. The neighbor immediately west, which there were some photos of it, it's nearing completion, essentially got the same landscaping variances we are requesting. That was our direction from community planning staff to align with in order for them to
align with that. Okay.
Support.
Okay, thanks. That's fine.
So what's the treatment of the municipal boulevard out in front?
A lot of soft landscaping. I was just going to mention that when you look beyond the property line, there is several meters of soft landscaping being proposed. Unfortunately, the front yard setback in this area is very small. It's barely over 2 meters. So by the time we include code required exits, we have maximized soft landscaping and then left the balance beyond the lot line, which does not count towards the statistic.
Okay. I'm sorry, sir, your time's been expired. On the PMTSA bylaws, are they going to be specific to each PMTSA, or are they going to be uniformly applied across the city?
My understanding is that they will be uniformly applied.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else, guys? Thank you. Thank you. We're in committee.
I'm happy to start.
Go ahead.
To me, by contrast with the Vaughan Road one that we saw, this is really this is a site that it really is capable of holding a multiplex this size. And I think it's been fairly well thought out in terms of, minimizing variances while maximizing the amount of new housing that can be provided. I note that there is bike parking provided, which I think is really important. The garden suite has been designed so that there is space for bike parking and garbage. So I think that's really important, and I think that speaks well to the overall consideration. I do appreciate as well, I think it's important that the garden suite is set back, does meet the required setback from the rear property line. I think that does help mitigate the impact of that. I also think it's really valuable that the fourth floor is being set back a little bit. I think that does minimize the impact. And I do point out that it is clearly the intention of the official plan to allow fourth floors on this area. And, the height variance is really simply a side effect of what has already been established as city policy. So I think that fits well. So to me, this is a very supportable.
Okay. I'll just chime in. There's a couple of things I want to point out. I think the massing on the main dwelling is nicely minimized by the step backs both in the front and the back, as you point out, Dylan. The garden suite in the rear is virtually as of right. The only thing is the separation distance, which is only 0.5 meter. So for all intents and purposes, there's no height variance for the garden suite or coverage. It's just the setback, and the 6.3 meters is what is typically allowed if you do have that separation distance, and say only 0.5 meter is not a significant difference. I would point out, mainly for the neighbors in the neighborhood in general, that the concerns you've raised are important concerns. The fact that you've gotten a fairly significant petition signed, I think, reflects the concerns that you have. I think the reality of your situation is, the good news is you're close to new urban, higher order urban transit with respect to both Eglinton and St. Clair. The bad news is you're close to higher order urban transit, and what that means is that City Council has determined that in these particular areas, the expectation is that there are going to be these kinds of developments. There is going to be an interest in supporting more intensification, more density. It could, in fact, depending on what the bylaw comes in at, it could even be higher than 4 stories. You don't know. But these are the kinds of locations that council has determined that the rental accommodation in particular is a priority, and is a priority going forward, to provide those people that want to locate in these neighborhoods access to amenities and access to higher order transit. So that is the reality. Even though the bylaw isn't currently in effect, I think the expectation is that it will be in effect, and it will be, if not it'll be very similar to what is being proposed here. So that's just the reality of what council is trying to achieve, and what development interests are bringing forward. So I think this is a supportable application in that context. So any further comments, or Dylan, do you want to take a crack at a motion?
Yeah, sure. I will move a motion to approve these variances with forestry condition number 3, and with a condition that privacy screens be implemented on the sides of the 4th floor rear terrace.
You said the 4th floor, but could we do the 3rd as well, maybe? Because they are pretty.
Is there a 3rd floor terrace?
Say again?
Is there a 3rd floor balcony?
There's balconies on every floor, I think. So I would think if we did the 3rd and 4th would be probably fine. And you can do the 2nd if you wish as well on both sides. Because it is a fairly tight urban fabric up there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no problem.
So what do you want? 2nd, 3rd, and 4th?
Yeah, me as well.
Okay. On the sides.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Motion by Mr. Reid to that effect. Do I have a seconder? Ms. Plaitzer, all in favor? You have your approval. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Chair, could we consider a break fairly soon? Would that be
Sure.
possible?
Why don't we do it now, Gary? 5-minute break.
Thank you. Very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming down.
I'll just stop my video.
Okay, 5-minute break.
The room unmuted.
Dylan's back. Gary, are you there?
Yes, I am, Chair. Just do the video right there.
All right.
Okay,
Okay, we resume
yes.
with item number 11, 2440 Dundas Street West. This is an application to alter the development standards for a 37-story mixed-use building, Phase 1 north portion of the site, approved under a site-specific zoning bylaw by increasing the height of the tower by 1 meter and stepped podium heights by an additional 0.7 to 2.9 meters and reducing the minimum required percentage of 3-bedroom dwelling units. Phase 1 will have a minimum of 3,200 square meters of gross floor area for permitted non-residential uses, of which 1,850 meters squared will be for a grocery store. There will be a total of 421 residential dwelling units within this building on the lot. A related site plan control application for Phase 1 and for Phase 2 are currently under review. Committee has before it a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, copy of the draft R plan of survey, 14 photographs of the subject property, covering letters from the agent, previous decision number affecting the subject property, an arborist report and tree protection plan, a memo relating to the accessible parking variance. We have planning justification letter from the agent, presentation materials from the agent, and a site-specific zoning bylaw and revised diagram 5 affecting the subject property. We have email correspondence from transportation review, staff reports from community planning, and from Metrolinx. We have correspondence and support from the West Bend Community Association. We also have correspondence and opposition from Emma Suskov, no address provided.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person and 2 speakers of interest in person.
Great, thank you. Mr. Bronskill, welcome.
Good morning, sir. I was just checking the time to make sure I should still say good morning. Last name's Bronskill, Bronskill, first initial D for David, and just for the record, the mailing address is 333 Bay Street, Suite 3400 in Toronto, and I am here as agent for the applicant.
All right, sir. As you heard, we've got a couple folks who want to speak to this item, so we'll need a presentation.
I can do that, sir. So we do have, if staff are able to bring up the presentation that we had put in, thank you, I see it there on the screen. This is a phased development approved through City Council for the site, as you know, at 2440 Dundas, east side of Dundas, a little bit north of Bloor, and it's a multi-tower development, 25, 37, and 42 stories. When it was approved, it wasn't approved with phases, but we are developing it in phases, and Phase 1 is the 37-story building at the north. You can see that there in red. The 25 and 42-story building are in the south. They would be the next 2 towers. There are site plan applications filed for all 3 buildings. This variance application only addresses Phase 1, and some of the variances actually deal with the phasing. But why don't I just walk through, if I can, the variances for you. It is a site-specific bylaw from 2024. The first set of variances just tweak, I'm going to call it tweak, the height. I hope the committee agrees with me, for Phase 1. And that's why you see some changes on the height map. And then there's an associated variance with that that is very technical that I'll explain in a minute. There's a variance related to the GFA that doesn't decrease the overall amount of GFA, but just enables Phase 1 to proceed. And I'll explain that in a moment. The fourth variance I'm going to call reallocates the number of 2 and 3 bedroom units approved. And planning staff do have the memo on that. And there's an important condition there from planning staff that we support. And then the last variance just relates to the location of the accessible parking spaces. It's not a reduction in the number, but again, I'm going to suggest it's a technical variance just in terms of where they're located on the second parking level, and I can explain that to you. If staff don't mind just going to the next page, we've got the revised diagram 5, which is the height map. You can see the tower itself is up a meter. And then there are some tweaks to the podium elements. There's a 15-meter portion that would be 16.4. The eastern portion back near the rail corridor goes from 7.5 to 8.2. And then the largest height increase, although it's just under 3 meters, is to that podium piece around the tower going from 18.5 to 21.4 meters. Those are the heights overall that just allow for a better rental product that will be in this building, and also through detailed design to deal with some construction issues. So I have been in front of this committee seeking substantially greater height increases for approved projects, and would just submit to the committee this is relatively minor in that context. The second variance, which relates to the projections, I indicated to you as a technical variance. That's because we have to measure the height of the projections from the heights that are now on this map 5. So the projections themselves aren't increasing. It's just where we draw the permission for the projections. And there has to be a reference to the revised diagram 5. If we didn't do that, for example, we could still have the same projection, but it would go from 125.3, not from 126.3. So the extent of projections remains the same. We're just changing where you start measuring them from. Variance 3, I indicated to you, we're not decreasing the overall amount of non-res. The bylaw mandates non-res on the entire site. So if we wanted to go with just one building right now, we would have to do all of the non-res in phase 1 to meet applicable law. We're providing roughly half of that non-res in phase 1, including the grocery store. So that's why we need the variance, and you'll see it's drafted. Phase 1 will have a minimum of 3,200 square meters. So we're not decreasing the overall amount, we're just enabling it to be phased between the towers. So at full build out, all of the non-res would still be provided. The next variance then just deals, as I indicated to you, a reallocation of the number of family units. The bylaw had required 10% threes, 15% twos. We're going to do 5% threes, 32% twos, and you'll note that what planning staff have asked as a condition is, should you approve the variant, ensure that there's a minimum of 25% as 2 bedrooms, so that if we do have the 5% threes, we have to deliver 25% twos. That gets us to 30% of family units, whereas the bylaw itself at 10 and 15 would only have 25. It's an allocation, frankly, related again to the rental program and the CMHC financing in terms of the types of units that are going to be provided in the floor plate and secured through the rental. We think it still meets the intent of the bylaw because we're having that 30% twos and threes. It's a reallocation between them and a slight increase in terms of the requirements. And then the last variance, Mr. Chair, and I'll stop, is the next slide. I'm going to suggest to you it's a very technical variance. We're not decreasing the amount of accessible parking. It's that if you can see here, if you go to the leftmost space, it's a 19-meter distance from the barrier-free access, but it's technically not the closest space, because if you go on the other side of the drive aisle, there are non-accessible spaces there that would be closer to the accessible entrance. And so it's a very technical variance. We worked with building staff in terms of the language for it. And this is what came up, was that these parking spaces will be located no more than 19 meters from a barrier-free entrance. So they're still there. There's still a direct travel to a barrier-free entrance. It's just they don't end up technically being the closest, because the closest would be on the other side of the parking aisle. So that's what's before you. I'm happy to listen to the other interested speakers. And come back. I'm also happy to answer any questions that people may have now.
Hey,
Mr. Chair, can I just make one slight question?
Yeah, we've got a couple speakers, but is it technical?
Yeah, it's technical. The purpose. So I noticed that the plan for the grocery store is 2,513 square meters, but the purpose says the grocery store will be, of which 1,850 meters will be for a grocery store. So I'm just thinking we should change the purpose to of which a minimum of 1,850 will be for a grocery store.
You see that, David?
Yeah, I do. That would be fine with us. That drafting comes, through Mr. Chair, out of the bylaw itself, which requires the 1,850 square meters for a grocery store. It will be larger through the negotiations with that grocery store provider. But I understand in terms of the purpose saying of which 1,850 will be for a grocery store, I would be fine if it said of which a minimum of 1,850 will be for a grocery store.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you. All right, we've got a couple people wanting to speak.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there's a bit of a correction. There's only one speaker in interest, and Vanessa, come up.
Okay, you're here. Hi, come on up. Hi, name and address, please.
My name is Vanessa Raponi. My address is 1557 Bloor Street West, Unit 4.
Okay, you have 5 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Vanessa Raponi, and as a registered city councillor candidate in Ward 4 Parkdale High Park, I am here today to represent concerns that myself and local neighbours have raised about the proposed changes to the 2440 Dundas Street West development. I want to begin by acknowledging the positive aspects of this proposal. I support adding new housing in our community, especially near transit, and I appreciate that this development includes purpose-built rental housing rather than being entirely condominiums. I also want to note that there are no concerns about the modest height increase being proposed or adjustments to the accessible parking. Neighbors have also expressed support for the location and placement of this development because the site borders the rail corridor. Many residents feel it is appropriate location for increased density that can fit well within the evolving character of the neighborhood. However, there are concerns about the proposed changes to the unit mix, specifically reduction in 3-bedroom units. Variance number 4 of the proposal would cut the number of required 3-bedroom units in half from the required 10%, meaning a reduction from 42 units to 21 units, while increasing the number of 2-bedroom units instead from 63 units to 136 units. The concern is that these replacement units are too small to function as livable family housing relative to the size of families in our ward and across Toronto. According to the updated plans, the proposed 2-bedroom units range from 61.1 to 74.2 square meters, while the city's growing up guidelines recommend 87 to 90 square meters. The proposed 3-bedroom units are 88 to 88.9 square meters, while the guidelines recommend 100 to 106 square meters. Even the largest proposed 2-bedroom unit is still smaller than the minimum required recommended by the city's own guidelines. This directly affects whether families can comfortably live in these units long-term. It is also important to note that maintaining the original percentage of 3-bedroom units is unlikely to meaningfully increase the overall number of residents in the building. Based on the proposed changes to the overall unit mix and unit sizes, the total population impact would likely remain relatively similar. This means the discussion is less about density overall and more ensuring that housing being created actually meets the needs of Toronto residents and families. Per 2021 census data, across the broader Toronto census metropolitan area, there are over 1.1 million families with at least one child, and 28% of those families have 2 or more children. In our ward alone, there are approximately 16,000 families with at least one child and just over 49,000 recorded households or dwelling units. About 30% of households have at least 3 people. Citywide, 36.4% of households have 3 or more people, and 21% have 4 or more people. Yet many new developments continue to prioritize undersized units that do not reflect how Toronto residents actually live. Over time, this has contributed to pushing families out of the city because suitable housing is unavailable or unaffordable. Over the last few decades, Toronto has approved many high-rise developments with units that are simply too small to function as long-term homes. We have seen layouts with little dining space, inadequate living areas, minimal storage, and bedrooms without proper walls or windows. These designs may maximize unit costs, but they do not create stable, livable communities. The city only has a limited number of tools to ensure that developments meet real housing needs rather than primarily serving demand of investors. The Growing Up Guidelines are one of those tools. Weakening those standards without a compelling justification undermines the city's own housing goals and research about what types of homes Toronto families actually need. Also, to briefly raise a concern about transit impacts, transportation studies for major developments in this area appear to focus heavily on road traffic, while providing little discussion of increased pressure on subway, GO Transit, or the Up Express, all of which are key transit connections at Dundas and Bloor, where I live. This comment is more a recommendation for future environmental impacts or transportation studies. To conclude, I support growth, density, and new housing in Ward 4, but I urge Council to maintain the requirement for larger, genuinely livable family-size units that align with the city's own research and policies. Toronto doesn't only just need more housing, it needs housing people can actually build their lives in. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. Panel, any questions of the speaker? None. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, is filming allowed of presentations?
I'm not aware of.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I appreciate it's an election year, but let's step back for a minute. City of Toronto, in terms of building permits this year, if we want to talk about getting construction underway and delivering housing, has a record low number of building permits. And in fact, nothing is getting started. And my client wants to build a new purpose-built rental project. And this unit mix is necessary for that to occur and to have CMHC financing. I don't mean to be draconian and difficult about this, but not achieving the new mix of family units means this project won't proceed. And I know that that can't be the intention of this councillor candidate. I also know it can't be her intention when she says she speaks for residents in the area, not to be mindful of the West Bend Community Association, who was consulted by my client and is on record indicating their support for the variances. They also speak for the neighborhood, and they're an important voice, and my client reached out to them, and they are in support of the adjustment to the unit mix, specifically the reduction in 3-bedroom units. They understand what's occurring through this project. Planning staff, who are also a vital constituency when it comes to these projects, have written in support of the project and the variances and recommended a very, very important condition of which we are supportive. So while I understand that a speech like that sounds good, it doesn't go to the heart of the variances before you and whether the intent and the 4 tests are met and whether we can deliver housing that does benefit all Torontonians. That is new purpose-built rental housing in a market where nothing is being built. And I don't mean to be so blunt and difficult about this, but this is a project for which we can get a building permit this summer in this market for rental housing. That's incredible. And stopping this and advocating to the committee to stop this is actually anti-housing. So I'm going to come back to the merits and the intent of the bylaw. The intent of the bylaw was to secure the right mix of family size units, and that was done by seeking to have 10% 3 bedrooms and 15% 2 bedrooms. This variance would reduce the number of 3s from 10 to 5, but would increase the number of 2s from 15 to 25 through the condition that planning staff are recommending to you. So let's go back again. We're going to have more 2 and 3 bedroom units in this rental project than initially approved by the Ontario Land Tribunal settlement with City Council. More. That should be supported, not opposed. And so, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to answer any questions, but this is one of those projects that we can get in the ground this year. And in this market, to have that rental housing with 30% family units, that's good planning. That meets the test. Planning staff recognize it. The West Bend Community Association recognizes it. And I truly hope this committee also recognizes it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Panel, any questions of the speaker? I just want, just on unit mix, David, you're very familiar with this business. In my experience in the past, there was a great push for 3 bedrooms, and I get the financing issue and totally understand it. Is it your sense or your client's sense that the demand is soft for 3 bedrooms, or I'm just trying to put it in context. Yeah. I mean, the financing and the immediacy, totally get it. Yeah. But I'm just curious about the demand side of 2s versus 3s.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the committee, it really depends a lot on location and it depends a lot on product. There are some buildings where the ability to have 3 bedroom units is being met, and we're not seeing these variances, and the 10% is being achieved. A lot of those units may or may not actually be family used units, even if they're family-sized units. And that's because the amount of square footage for those units is in fact prohibitively expensive for families. And so they might have 3 bedrooms, but that bedroom is a den and a guest bedroom, and it might be a downsizing couple who want space from a house and don't want the upkeep of the house. So they're not necessarily used by families. So we are seeing demand and uptake for some of those 3-bedroom units, absolutely. In rental projects, the 3 bedrooms is more demanding. Some of that is the fact that when you just get up to the additional bedrooms and the size, the rent becomes very, very high. And I'm not going to mislead this committee. That can be a $3,500 or a $4,000 a month rent for a unit like this, which a family may not simply want to pay, particularly if they can go and rent a house for a similar amount. So we are seeing in rental buildings, and I'll add one last point why rental buildings as well. We are seeing in rental buildings a harder ability for the 3 bedrooms. The other related reason for that for the 3 bedrooms in rental products is layouts of tower floor plates, where repetition and construction efficiency, and I acknowledge that those are not relevant to the 4 tests or necessarily even planning matters. Those are true construction and cost related matters. But repetition and simplicity in the floor plate are very, very important. And the 3-bedroom units tend to be the corner units, and you don't have the same ability to lay out 3-bedroom units in a repetitive rental floor plate the way you might do in a condominium project where those efficiencies don't quite mean the same thing. And so the rental floor plates, there are more limited opportunities. A lot of the time, frankly, the 3-bedroom units in condo projects are often in the podium too. And they're not necessarily the best units, even though they're purchased. So we are seeing this reduction on a few files. They're noted in the Bousfield's planning memo, where some reductions have been achieved. I worked on one at 1375 Queen, different area, common link between them, rental. And that's where we are tending to see the reduction.
That's great. Thank you very much. That was a very helpful explanation. Panel, any questions of Mr. Bronskill? See none. Thank you, sir. All right, let's go into committee.
Just a comment. Just a comment that I think that the person who spoke in interest was more concerned about the size of the units rather than the actual breakdown. But I recognize that's not really in front of us. So, I think that's a genuine concern. But of course, there's market forces around that, and that's not something that's in front of us. And also, I also wanted to express thanks for the explanation about variance 3, because I could not figure out what that was about. And now I much understand. So,
okay. Anyone else? I know this area quite well. This is an area that is the confluence of subway, GO, Up Express, and major streetcar units. It is an area which currently is underdeveloped given its proximity to amenities, transportation. It's a 5-minute walk from High Park. It's a walk to the junction. It's a walk to Roncesvalles. It is this general area here is extraordinarily well suited for development and additional intensification. I do know that there are several projects on the books and in the approvals process, and hopefully ground will be broken soon. So it is an ideally situated spot for these kinds of developments. I would take the point that the agent raised about, well, I mean, I'm concerned about loss of 3 bedrooms as well. In my career, that was something we were pushing for very strongly right across the board. but there is an economics issue here. There is a financing issue. And I think the compensation of adding additional 2 bedrooms to the mix in this instance offsets the loss of what looks like 20 odd 3-bedroom units, with the increase of just do my math here, 70 additional 2-bedroom units. I think that more than adequately compensates for the loss of 3 bedrooms. So I think overall, given its proximity, its location, the impact of this development, that the changes being proposed, in my view, are appropriate. So I'll be supporting this one. Okay, anyone want to take a crack at a motion?
I can if you want.
Thank you, Dylan.
Yeah, so for the reasons discussed, and Larry, I agree with what you were saying about the 2 and 3 bedrooms as well. And I think it's really important that we have that planning condition. I'd actually before I got to there, I made a note that we should include a condition for that. So I will move a motion to approve these variances as revised in the purpose. With the planning condition, I think that's the only condition.
Does Metrolinx have conditions? No Metrolinx?
No, I think Metrolinx are just comments, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, with the planning condition.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the purpose as well as variance number 3.
No, variance number 3 already has the correct wording. It's the purpose that didn't.
Well, you want the wording to say a minimum of for the
yes,
grocery
and the
store?
variance number 3 does say a required minimum gross floor area. So variance 3 doesn't need to be changed. It's only the purpose that needs to be changed.
Let's just make sure here. Well, then it goes on. No, you're right. It does.
It does say we'll have a minimum of 3,200 square meters, but I also think it needs to be reflected of
Sabrina's
which a
right.
minimum of.
Dylan, if you continue on to the last sentence in that variance, it doesn't use the word minimum. For
Okay. Yes, I see the point. Okay. Yep. So the as revised in the purpose and in the second sentence or the final sentence of variance 3.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. Good point.
Good, Sabrina. Okay. All right. Motion by Mr. Reid with that condition and those amendments, seconded by Mr. McKay. All in favor? Have your approval, sir. Thank you. All right. Move on to item number 12. 323 Mount Pleasant Road. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear 3rd-story addition. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 5 photographs of trees on the subject property, and an arborist report. And do we have the agent?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person and no registered speakers.
Hello, sir. It is afternoon. Look at that. You've been here all morning.
Yes. Is your green light on? Just press the button. No. On the microphone.
There you go.
Perfect.
Okay, hi.
That's better.
Okay. I'm the agent, and my name is Gino Scopelletti of Sunnylee Homes, representing the owners of 323 Mount Pleasant. My office is at 2700 Dufferin Street, Suite 65.
Great. Sir, you've been here all morning, and we appreciate your attendance in person.
Thank you.
We've looked at your application. I don't think we actually need a presentation this morning because it's a fairly straightforward application.
Yes.
Panel, anyone need a presentation on this one? I almost feel like I should ask you for a presentation since you've been here so long, but I won't do that to you unless you want. If you would like to share anything with the panel before we take it in for a decision, you can certainly do that. Otherwise, we can just go in for a decision.
Yeah. You know, basically, the driving force behind this project is the owner. Actually, elderly mother is hopefully moving in, later in the summer after this project is done. This is a real driving force to this. So this is a huge project for the owners.
Sure. I mean, you're only asking for a variance on FSI, right? So
Yes, correct.
fairly straightforward. I think you'll be happy with your outcome.
Okay.
Okay, let's take this into committee. Does anyone want to take this one?
I'm happy to move a motion on this one.
Sure.
Chair.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah, as you said, we're just looking at an FSI variance. It's a very modest rear third floor addition. No negative impacts that I can see. So I'm happy to move a motion for approval. I don't see any conditions on that.
All right, motion by Ms. Placer to approve. Do I have a seconder? Mr. McKay, all in favor? You have your approval, sir.
Thank you, Chair, and panel members. Really appreciate it.
Oh, no, you can stick around and watch the rest of the day if you like. All right. Item number 13.
Old Dundas.
4033 Old Dundas Street. Purpose of this application is to legalize and maintain the existing temporary pedestrian walkway bridge extending from the front door of the existing 5-story detached apartment building to the Old Dundas Street sidewalk, which was constructed without an authorized building permit. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 13 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, excuse me, order to comply affecting the subject property. We have correspondence in opposition from a resident of 4033 Old Dundas Street.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and one speaker in person in interest.
Okay. All right.
Igor, you're unmuted.
Hello, members of committee. Igor Cook here again from MXL Engineering, 1649 St. Clair Avenue West.
Hi, we have someone who wants to speak to this item, so we'll need a short presentation, and if you could specifically address the issue of the order to comply.
Definitely. So what happened with this property is that we had a previous existing access bridge to the building, which became structurally unsound. It was removed, and this temporary bridge was built by the owner. And I think for the lack of information at that point, he was not aware of the permitting process to redo the bridge. And that's why we had an order to comply that forced us to apply for a building permit, which we started the process actually a couple years ago. We had a major delay due to the fact that there was a legal issue with the title of the property. The property was inherited by the current owners, and they had their lawyers to look into, which was beyond our scope of design and permitting. So we were stuck for a couple of years, and now we're back. We're hoping to legalize just the temporary structure to clear the order to comply. And right after that, our intent has already had these conversations with the owner is to build a proper access so we can replace the temporary bridge with a proper structure after that.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have someone to speak to this item. Are you here? Hi, come on up. Have a seat. Push the green, make the green light on. It's on? Yep. Good to go? All right. Name and address, please, sir.
John King, 4033 Old Dundas Street. So I'm a resident of the building.
Okay.
Many years ago now, the main walkway was taken down, supposedly because it was unsound. It was a concrete structure that ran from the main door. That was taken down, and then this temporary one was put in its place, and it's been there ever since. So
how long has it been there, sir?
This was pre-COVID, so I believe this would have been 2018 or 2019.
Okay.
The building was inspected at least twice and noted that that walkway needed to be basically fixed, that there needed to be a permanent something put in, and nothing's happened since then. So the fact that there's actually movement on this is a good thing, so I'm not opposing this. But just trying to understand when they say that they are trying to make the temporary structure permanent, just to clarify that that doesn't mean that this will be the new permanent, because it was temporary 5 or 6 years ago, so it's even worse now. It's wood, metal, it's gotten very rusty, it's not in particularly good shape. And to understand what the timing will be for a new proper permanent walkway to be put in there, because as I said, it's been 6 years now, notwithstanding any title issues that they had. This is it's a major issue because this is the primary walkway that leads into the building, and there's been no movement on it since the temporary one went in.
Okay. So we'll put that to the agent and have him answer that. Thank you very much, sir. All right. Bring back the agent.
Yes.
Hi.
So
you heard the resident's concern. Can you address what he's asking?
Definitely. Yeah, I agree with the resident. We wish it could be faster on our end in terms of applying and pulling a permit quicker. I believe the strategy now, as I previously mentioned, is to just legalize this as soon as we can to clear the order, and right after that engage with a new design to build a proper structure. To answer the resident's question to timing, I would imagine that to obtain a building permit after we clear this issue for the new structure will take, I would guesstimate, probably 6 to 8 months, because we're going to be back here committee, right? We'll have the exact same variance once again of the setback, because there's an existing condition that we can't do anything about it. It's just the nature of this structure. So our goal is, again, legalizing just whatever was built and was built a long time ago, and then now being proactive and designing and applying for a new permit. So we can, again, our intent, and as he mentioned, is to rebuild with concrete, right? This structure was built with structural steel, and afterwards we will be building a new bridge with concrete, yes, to claim back, let's say, the very original state of that pathway.
Okay, thank you. Sabrina, if the committee grants this variance for the setback, is it specific to the temporary structure, or could it apply to a new structure? I mean, he said he's got to come back for the new structure. And I just wonder if he gets the variance here, and it's the same variance he'd require for a permanent structure, would they need to return for the permanent versus this one?
Well, I guess the way the purpose is worded, we say temporary pedestrian walkway bridge, right?
But this variance isn't specific to that. You know what I mean? I mean, it's at his risk to do that anyways, but I wonder whether they need a variance. If it's only a 6 meter setback, that's all they need.
Chair, if I could make a comment on this.
Why don't you? Yes, so Gary, the lawyer's piping in. Hang on a second.
Okay. It doesn't seem that the temporary bridge is functioning that well, and I'm a little concerned about giving approval to the temporary without adding in some kind of time limit. So my thinking was 12 months or 18 months. The spokesperson just said, I think he said 5 or 6 months in terms of the permit. But that's my suggestion here, is that if we gave approval to the temporary walkway, that we have a time limit on it, and also that would be a way to encourage moving ahead on the new bridge and getting it done.
I'm going to ask Sabrina, but I know that time limits are always difficult for us to put in. Can we put a time limit in for at least, maybe not building it, but at least applying for and receiving approval under a building code?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we can put a time limit on this proposal, saying that we're legalizing, maintaining this temporary pedestrian walkway bridge, right, for a term of 1 year, let's just say. And then if they are to remove and build permanently in the same location, then they'll have to come back to Committee of Adjustment.
Okay.
Or they comply with the variance and they don't have to come back to Committee of Adjustment.
Right, for the new structure.
Right now, we're just saying something's been built without an authorized building permit. And they're saying it's temporary.
Okay. Gary, would that be okay? Like put a time limit on, we've done that for other things, right?
Yes, I think it's quite possible here. I'll suggest 18 months and we can see what the applicant says about that.
Did you want to go out of committee and ask the applicant that?
Yes, thank you. That would be good.
Okay, out of committee, we can go back to the applicant. Committee is considering putting a time limitation on this variance for the temporary structure. You mentioned it'd be 6 to 8 months before you got a building permit. What's a reasonable time frame?
I agree with committee members with the 18-month period, just to have a buffer in terms of applications. And if you need to go back to committee alone might take another 3 to 4 months. Plus design and coordinating that with the client, I think, and construction, 18 months, I think is a reasonable time frame. And it seems that we won't be able to your point, grant this variance to our future design, but I guess it is what it is at this point. And the only thing to comment on, because you're discussing complying with the bylaw, but in this case, it's literally impossible, is a pedestrian bridge. If you want to pull even the site plan, it gives access from the building to the sidewalk. So we need to go, and it's seen as a deck or porch or balcony, but it's literally a bridge connecting the pedestrian sidewalk to the building entrance.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, we're back in committee. Gary, did you want to move a motion?
Fine, Chair. All right, move approval of move approval of this application, subject to a time limit being imposed of 18 months. And I see no urban forestry condition, so I'll leave it there.
Can we add the usual for the record about building permits?
Sure, a good thought. And so, Sabrina, we're just asking that either the minutes or the being added into the, being added the minutes, the idea.
This is for the record.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we can add for the record of.
For the record, the committee doesn't condone the use of a building without a building permit.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Motion by Mr. McKay with that condition. I have a seconder. Ms. Plaitzer, all in favor? You have your approval with that condition, sir. Thank you for coming down. Okay, item number 14 is 350 Ossington. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story townhouse dwelling by constructing a new rear 1-story addition with a 2nd-story rooftop deck above and a new rear 3rd-story dormer addition. The existing rear 3rd-story dormer, rear 1-story addition, and rear ground floor deck will be demolished. Committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 16 photographs of trees on the subject property, and 2 form letters in support from 8 and 10 Churchill Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Okay.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Corey Brown, 57 Spencer Avenue, Suite 32, Toronto.
Great, sir. Just hang on a second. It looks like a fairly straightforward application. Panel, does anyone need a presentation on this one? No. Sir, we've read your application. We're familiar with the material. We don't need a presentation today. Is there anything you'd like to share with the panel before we take it into committee for a decision?
Yes, please. I would just like to note that our zoning, the ZALC, notes that the deck being demolished is actually on the 2nd level above the ground floor addition being demolished, and that's what will be replaced. Whereas this description sounds like, although the ground floor deck is being demolished in the purpose of the application, more importantly, it's about the 2nd floor deck that we're replacing.
Oh, okay. So there is a ground floor deck. It's being demolished as well as the 2nd floor deck.
That's correct.
Can we just add in the 2nd floor deck in the purpose? Yeah, okay. Okay, we'll make that amendment to the purpose then.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's go into committee. It's fairly straightforward. It's mostly just replacing existing.
Yeah, okay.
Who wants to take this one on? Come on, Gary, I see you there.
I was going to say, I didn't understand the performance standard, so I'll let another one of our members hopefully enlighten me and make an appropriate motion.
All right.
The distance between the main walls was bothering me.
Okay.
I'd understand that. Okay.
Katie?
Thanks, Chair. Sure. Let me just get oriented. I'm having a slight lag on my system here. Here we go. Yeah, I had no concerns with this. I think that the proposed modifications are reasonable, desirable. I didn't see any conditions attached to this, so I would, move that we approve, no conditions.
It's an amended application. We're going to change
amended, thank you, yes. And those amendments were to the final sentence, yes, of the purpose?
Okay, motion by Ms. Plaitzer to approve. I have a seconder. Gary, Mr. McKay, all in favor? You have your approval. Thank you.
Okay.
Move on to item number 15. 389 Quebec Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing 2.5-story detached dwelling by constructing a rear second-story deck with stairs. There will be a total of 2 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevation, 6 photographs of the subject property with covering letter from the agent, email correspondence from the agent. We have 2 form letters in support from 387 and 391 Quebec, the 2 adjacent neighbors.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online and no registered speakers.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Nasser Amer of Arch Eye Architects, and my address is 200 Cashy Woods Court, Suite 314, and that's in Markham, Ontario.
Great. Thank you very much, sir. Sorry.
Okay.
Don't mean to interrupt you. Panel, does anyone need a presentation on this one? Sir, we don't need a presentation this morning. We read your application. We're familiar with the material. Is there anything you'd like to share with us before we make a decision?
I only have one worry. We applied for a zoning review, and it only came back with a deficiency for the setback. But I'm worried that there is also section 10.5.40.54 that limits the depth of the deck to 2.5 meters. And due to the geometry of the house itself, this is going to make it very difficult for us to construct it as proposed. And there is also section 10.20.40.50.1b. This one limits the platform area to 4 square meters. If you kindly look at the drawings attached, the shape of the building, the geometry of the building is difficult. And this is the only exit from the upper floor, which is a separate unit, into the deck. So I was just wondering if it would be approved as proposed, or just to avoid any surprises at permit.
Well, sir, what we have before us is simply one variance, and the variance is in respect of the setback. There's no variance for size of deck or anything else. So if you need additional variances, the best course of action is to defer, clarify what variances you need, and come back to us. If, on the other hand, if you're satisfied that the one variance that's before us is the one that you need, we can deal with that today.
I'm satisfied with this, but as I mentioned, sir, the zoning review came back with only this one. But I'm worried that something else is going to come back, because the zoning review came back mentioning that further investigation could reveal more deficiencies. So that's what worries me. And in the application, there is 2 variances, not just one, kindly.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
It's a variance for section 10.5.40.54 as well.
We don't have that before us. We only have the one. Yeah. Like if you go to the public notice, that's the one that we are looking at and that we have before us. There's only one variance here. So you have something that says there's another variance?
In the application we submitted, we requested the relief from 2, not just 1.
Well, through you, Mr. Chair, it's the setback from the second-story rear deck platform as well as the setback of the second-story deck stairs. All put into one,
Yeah,
right?
so is that, are those the two variances that, if you look on the screen, if you can look on the screen, that's what we have before us. Is that what you need?
I need this one definitely, but there is one missing that was on the application as well.
Okay, hang on a second. Sabrina, is it on the AIC?
We'd have to check the public notice that went out.
Sorry, is the one missing the area? Is that what you're concerned about?
It's actually the area, and there is one for the depth of the deck. It limits the depth of the deck to 2.5 meters from the back main wall of the house. And due to the geometry of the house, this is going to make it very, very difficult for us to construct it as proposed.
So was there an inspector? Did he come and examine your property, or did they review, or is this a waiver?
We applied for a zoning review and it came back with only 1 point, but in the application for a minor variance, we requested 2.
Does that mean the zoning examiner didn't see the need for the other one?
Through you, Mr.
Well,
Chair.
It was not mentioned in the zoning note, but as I mentioned to you, sir, they mentioned that further investigation could reveal more deficiencies. So we did our due diligence, and just to avoid any issues at permit, I added a second minor variance request.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at the public notice, and it is identical to what is before the members. I'm looking at the zoning notice, and it's identical to what is before the members. So if the agent feels that not all variances have been captured correctly, then it's probably a deferral to further investigate and then determine what is required.
So it's your call, sir. If you want to proceed with this one, I mean, the risk is that there are others that weren't discovered, or you can defer and clarify exactly what variances you need. If there are further variances that can be included and turned around, you can submit the application. Is there a fee issue if they have to come back a second time?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, they'd have to pay the fee.
So deferral and clarifying your variances might be the more affordable solution.
Oh, then I will go ahead with the variance for today, sir.
Okay, so that's fine. We'll do that. Any questions of the agent panel? Okay, we'll take it into committee. I think this is a very straightforward one. I guess the agent, if they do need additional variances, it's up to them to figure it out. But what's before us is really quite minor. Okay, Gary.
It is minor, Chair. I think it meets the test. So I move approval of this application and see no condition.
Okay, motion by Mr. McKay to approve. Seconded by Mr. Reid. All in favor? You have your approval, sir, and good luck. Okay, we move on to item number 16, 22 Lankin Boulevard. This is an application to construct a new one-story detached ancillary building containing a one-car garage in the rear yard, the existing one-story detached dwelling. The existing rear detached garage will be demolished. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property, a staff report from Urban Forestry, and we have correspondence and concern from 22 Lankin.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent here in person and no registered speakers.
All right, sir. Mr. Gain.
Good afternoon.
I do note that you're last on the morning agenda, not on the afternoon agenda. I think we're making progress.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Name and address for the record, sir.
Trevor Gain, 10 Celebrity Place in Markham, Ontario, agent here on behalf of the owners.
Okay, this is just replacing an existing garage.
Replace an existing garage, sliding it back into the lot a little bit, and we've increased the size of the garage slightly by 1 meter in depth, mainly just to accommodate a car and about 1 meter of garbage cans, bicycles, whatever inside at the back of the garage, compared to having 2 structures, a shed and a garage. I'm aware of the forestry report. I think Grant made an error because he was referencing a pool, which is not, there's no pool. Yeah. And then he was also mentioning if the garage could be reduced in size or moved or helicopile. So I'm not 100% sure that that report is for us, but we are in a tree protection zone in the back corner. So standard procedure, we just have to deal with forestry, and this will just be a slab on grade, so minimal excavation in that corner of that tree on the neighbor's side. So I don't suspect.
So does the neighbor have a pool? There's no pool?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
If I can just speak. I think I noticed that mistake as well, but I do think that this is referring to this specific thing because the neighbor also wrote in with concern about their tree, which is, right at the edge. So the forestry isn't requiring a condition.
It's advisory.
Yeah, but like it does look like you are intruding into that tree's protection zone. So you're saying that you're going to you're just using a concrete pad, so it won't really have too much of an impact on the tree?
Yeah, correct. It's just a siding or stucco, so it'll just be like a 12-inch slab on grade, probably 8 inches down, just to get rid of the topsoil, and a floating slab, no foundations.
Okay,
it's right in the drawings, actually.
I'll leave that to forestry to figure out. You're going to talk to forestry about that?
Yeah, we've already talked to the neighbors, so I think they were just raising concern that forestry is aware of it, and the memo came back. Even the neighbor wrote that their address was 22 Lankin, which they're not, they're 20. So
great.
All sorts of typographical errors on this application.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, right, I read it into the record as 22 Lankin, yeah. All right, okay, anything else, guys? Nothing. Okay, let's take it into committee. I think this is a fairly straightforward application. Anyone want to take this one? Dylan, you talked about it, so I'll make you do it.
Okay, sure, no problem. Yeah, it's very minor. It's a minor increase in the lot area. I totally understand the desire to incorporate, garbage and bike parking inside the garage. Forestry seems to be aware of this. I'm trusting that they will work with forestry to minimize the impact on the tree. And so otherwise, it seems like a perfectly reasonable minor adjustment and really an improvement. So I'm happy to move approval of the variance with no conditions, because forestry didn't specify any conditions.
Yep. Okay, motion by Mr. Reed to approve. Do I have a seconder? Mr. McKay, all in favor? You have your approval. Thanks for coming down. And, rest assured, I will advocate for you being moved up in the agenda in future days. Oh, very good. Go for number 1. Okay, we are breaking for lunch. Sabrina, 2 o'clock?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. We'll be back at 2.
Okay. Thanks. I'll see you guys in a minute.
Turn off your videos, microphones.